check. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Wherever you are, however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Beret was a hell of a guest, but sorry, that's for another day. And it will be a green beret, but it'll be like lime green. It'll be more fun. You're late. Yeah. What's new? Every day. Every day I'm a little bit late. 7 minutes is on time. 5 minutes late is early. On time is too early. I think that's what we decided. Unheard of. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. You're not gonna wear a raspberry beret?
Is that a thing? What's a raspberry beret? Why is everybody saying raspberry beret?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I mean, I know what the color of a raspberry is.
Prince's song, Raspberry Beret.
I don't know any Prince songs at all. I could tell, like, by Purple Rain. That's it.
Yeah, you have to listen to it.
I think I got hammered for this one time before, but like, just not a Prince fan. I don't. There's a lot of like famous musicians that I just didn't get it. I was never like a big Michael Jackson fan.
My sister had a really odd. I don't know. She's you and her are the same age, but she was like weirdly obsessed with Michael Jackson. I don't know why, but it was weird. It's weird.
This is what's going to get him canceled. Because I have terrible taste in music. I'm fine with that. I don't think my taste in music is great. I've been made fun of for my taste in music my entire life. I mean, I'm pretty sure we weren't allowed to. I wasn't aware of who Prince was. To be honest, the first time I became aware of who Prince was watching the Chappelle Show, like in high school. And even then, I had no idea who the fuck Prince was. I don't know. I didn't have a single friend or family member that listened to Prince. I don't know if he did something to piss off the Mormons, but I swear to God, I don't know anybody. Not one of my friends listened to Prince ever. No idea.
I don't think I was. I don't think I started like liking or listening to Prince till I was out of high school and older. So.
Yeah, and then,
like people mentioned, like he was kind of effeminate and stuff like that in some ways. Like some Mormons, I could see not necessarily being big Prince fans. I could see that.
I like the stories about him. I watched a documentary about him. I thought he's fascinating. Whoever listens to his music, I think that's great. You probably have great taste in music, and I don't. But I've never heard a Prince song and been like, I need to hear that again. Not once.
I listen to Prince quite a bit, but
he was a free spirit. That's probably why. That's true. Yeah, like what I listened to growing up, like I listened to what I was allowed to listen to, which was like whatever was on the radio, and then like my own when I had CDs, when we could get CDs, I listened to. It was all like the West Coast rappers. I mean, Jermaine Dupri. I think I told you guys this, but I went back and I was looking through my last time I was back in Utah. I was looking through we had like these basketball programs, and so there was a player profile on every player, and it listed like your favorite whatever. I had no identity. I can tell you that none of the things I said that were my favorite things were my favorite things. Like my favorite food was mashed potatoes. It's like, who the fuck says mashed potato? I think I was just like trying to be contrarian. Said my favorite athlete was Steve Francis. Nobody's favorite athlete is Steve Francis ever.
Yeah. Spawn's one of Spawn's favorite foods is mashed potatoes, which is
okay. Maybe it is real. I think my favorite artist listed was Blues Traveler. Do you know Blues Traveler?
The thing about me, like I don't necessarily like I'll know songs and I'll know things, but I can't necessarily place names of things. I mean, I know I've heard of Blues Traveler, but like a song of theirs that I probably couldn't necessarily. I couldn't name one probably. So
I did not listen to Ace of Base. I hated Ace of Base.
I loved Ace of Base.
Yeah, not my thing. I did like some ska music. I loved Sublime. I thought Real Big Fish was great. I liked some punk. Like I liked a lot of like the punk rock, like Blink 182. What was it, like Secondhand Serenade, Dashboard, all that shit. My best friend was a big like Third Eye Blind fan. And when he got dumped by his first girlfriend, and I had to go on a drive with him, probably like an hour-long drive. We were at a volleyball game, and he called me. He was like, "Hey, can you come drive with me?" I was like, "That's fine." And we drove around for like an hour and a half. He was just telling me how heartbroken he was. This is his first girlfriend. He was a junior. I was a senior. And after a while, I realized that the only thing that had been on the I guess in the CD player was "How's It Gonna Be," that Third Eye Blind song. And he had made an entire CD, 16 tracks, and it was just all "How's It Gonna Be." And it was like just over and over and over again.
So
So
he was just mourning.
yeah,
So.
Limp Bizkit. I wasn't huge on Limp Bizkit. I liked Pearl Jam a lot. I liked Rage Against the Machine. I did not understand any of those references clearly. Then I grew up. Then I was like, all my Republican friends listened to Rage Against the Machine. It's very confusing. Nirvana. I loved Nirvana. I don't know a single New Kids on the Block song. In fact, my first reference to New Kids on the Block was the New Kids on the Block had a bunch of hits. Chinese food makes me sick. Not a big Papa Roach. I got all my music from my friends. So my best friend, until like we were done with elementary school, his family, they were Mormon, but they didn't have the same rules. So like that's where I watched The Simpsons for this first time. That's where I heard all my music. That's where I could play video games. We used to go outside and play They had like a basketball court in their backyard, and we would take a stereo out there, and there was like a mixtape. It was a tape. Counting Crows, love Counting Crows. To this day, Counting Crows is one of my favorite bands ever. But it was like, I know there was Black or White, the Michael Jackson song, but the only time I had ever heard that song was with the real intro, where there's like the kid, and they're like the parents keep telling him to like shut up, and then you hear him take his tape and flip it over, and he's like, "Take that," and then it kicks into the Black or White song. Blues Traveler was on that. I'm trying to remember. There were some silly songs on there. Saturday is
So
Born.
are you Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
I think I was in sync. If I didn't listen to them a lot. I loved Celine Dion. I always loved Celine Dion. I saw her second to last concert ever, which was incredible. So
are you 104 years old?
I don't even care. People can make fun of me about Celine Dion all you want. She's on my my playlist. My everyday playlist has like 180 songs on it. Like 4 of them are Celine Dion songs. What's that song? That's the way. That's what called? That's the way it is. That's a banger. That's a great song. If like that'll get you pumped up. If Celine Dion, That's the Way It Is comes on and you don't like get amped, I don't know what's wrong with you. I love Adele too, Amy Lynn. I'm with you on Adele. Adele's incredible. Shut up, Nicholas. That kid was Macaulay Culkin. Do you know what I'm talking about at the beginning of that Michael Jackson song?
I think so. The Macaulay Culkin reference is familiar.
Is that true?
Yeah.
How do you spell his name? Macaulay Culkin. It is? What? I never knew that. You guys can look it up. We'll probably get hammered for copyright because somebody owns all of Michael Jackson's music.
I'll just cut it out. It's not a big deal.
All right, let's see.
You have to play the video.
Yeah. We'll just play it. We'll really get in trouble on that one. Okay, that's different than the album version, though. Pink, incredible. Pink's one of my favorite artists. It's not that bad. I don't think it was that bad. I don't think my music taste was that bad. Not a fan of Linkin Park, but the album that they did with Jay-Z is incredible. That's like one of my favorite albums ever. So, and members only MTV Night. We could do that. Just go back and do what was that damn show called? The TRL. We could do that.
Yeah. TRL. Coming on after school. TRL.
I think I had a Jewel CD at some point. Pretty sure. I think I've told this story. I had Eve 6, and my mom pull this album cover up. It's crazy. My mom threw away my Eve 6 CD because move this over here. Hold on one sec. This was like the album cover here. And she said that she wasn't sure, but she thought maybe the the proboscis was suggestive. She thought this might have been sexual, and threw away my Eve 6 CD for a fly. Yeah, I listened to Incubus. That's true. Yeah, Incubus was good. It's good with all that. Yeah, swear to God. I had the weirdest shit. Like the rules in my house didn't make any sense. Could not watch Harry Potter or read Harry Potter, and then all of a sudden, just one day that changed. Niner Suck says you're unseasoned boiled chicken personified.
So Sandy sent a Venmo saying, Jay, because you love Counting Crows, you rock. Love you.
Thank you. Counting Crows have aged well. My mom's favorite songs, ironically, were the Free Willy song from the Michael Jackson song on Free Willy and Lionel Richie Dancing on the Ceiling. That's the only time you'll ever see my mom like smile and get happy about music. But we also did a ton of family trips. And on those family trips, we listened to musicals. So I also love musicals. So like all of Les Mis, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Newsies. I think those were kind of the main ones. I listened to those. So I knew all those like as a kid. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Yes. Yeah.
My mom liked to watch like musical like movies, like Sound of Music and like Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, crap like that. So that was the thing that she was into.
Oh yeah, I guess we watched Sound of Music. And was Mary Poppins a musical technically? I think so. We did that.
I mean, there was a lot of music. I don't know if it's classified as a musical, but yeah.
Grease. I watched Grease. That's a good one. Yeah, my music selection is all over the place. Coldplay, I loved Coldplay. Yeah, that was a good jaunt down memory lane.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, Jen, do your thing.
All right, so.
Oh, do you have any dating updates? I forgot to ask that.
Not. I mean, I'm talking to a few. I don't have anything necessarily set up yet. I mean, I'm trying. So I try to figure out. I don't try to go at a times because Spawn doesn't. Like she makes things awkward if I go out. So it's like I'm trying, once or twice a week. So I've got people asking or inquiring about going out on dates. I just haven't decided who yet.
All right.
But yeah,
it's uninspiring. Yes to Foo Fighters. Yes to Yellow Card. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, so there's all that good stuff. Anyways, welcome everybody. We've got the show that we do each day, Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1. We got TikTok still up, so that's sweet. If you're on TikTok, if you guys could tap that like button, send your heart emojis if you haven't sent one yet. I try to keep a gift goal going over there, so that hopefully the TikTok gods look favorably on us. So if you guys could help us out with some of that would be cool. If you guys want to join us for our members only events, if you're a paid member, subscriber on any of the platforms, TikTok, Twitch, or YouTube, you can join us for those members only events. We'll have one coming up this next week, next Wednesday. So those are always a good time. So if you guys are a paid member or subscriber on any of the platforms, you can do that. You can see the gift goal on the screen. We need to hit that each day so that we can keep doing this. It is our job. So if you guys could Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out that gift goal total. We prefer Venmo, the pay links if we can, because they take less from us. But all is accepted and all is appreciated. So like I said, if we can knock that out quick, fast, in a hurry, that would be sweet. If you guys disagree with RTP and you want to come up and have a conversation, how you do that, just send me a message on Discord. My Discord username is the same as the Venmo. So it's Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, the number 1. And I can bring you on. Check out the link tree in the bio for we're on most social media platforms. We've got merch days on Cameo, and we upload these episodes to Spotify. What's the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard?
I don't know.
The spelling.
Stupid. Thank you. That's what, I don't know who keeps saying Hoobastank. I feel like you might know something. Well, I lived in the Quad Cities, which is in Iowa and Illinois. It's like on the border there. So it's like Rock Island, Davenport. What are the other two cities? Moline and can't remember the other Iowa town, right? Betancourt, maybe? Is it Betancourt? Do we have any Quad Cities people here? I think it's Betancourt, Davenport, Rock Island, and Moline, if I remember correctly. And they have this like really cool downtown. It's either in Moline or Rock Island, but it's right on the river. And we were there one time, and they would have concerts every weekend. And one weekend, Hoobastank was coming, and we were there early, and we were sitting at the bar, and then like people just started pouring in. And I was sitting next to my friend Fabian, which is his real name. He's from South Africa. And then this guy sat down next to me who I didn't know, and he was a shorter guy. I don't know. I thought maybe like Asian. I don't know, some Asian person that I didn't know, and he was nice enough. But people started rolling in. My friend Fabian went to the bathroom, and I was just talking to this guy. And this was like during Bedazzled jeans, like the True Religion jeans and all the Affliction shit. And there's just like people pouring in Affliction gear and True Religion jeans. We were talking. I was like, looks like the douchebag Hoobastank crowd is in. And he just laughed. And we were talking, and he asked me where I was from. I said I was from Utah. He's like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm just here for work. I'm going to be here for like 6 months. Like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I actually am a musician. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, do you play in a band? He's like, yeah, we're playing tonight. I was like, oh, what band? He's like, Hoobastank. And it was the lead singer of Hoobastank. And I was just looking on my friend's Facebook. I have a picture with me and the Hoobastank guy. I have no idea what his name is, but I did not know that's what he looked like. And I was like, hey, man, I'm really sorry about saying that about your fans. He's like, that's okay. Not everybody likes my music. He was the nicest guy ever. And nobody seemed to know who he was also. He was completely just camouflaged. He felt totally comfortable just walking around. He might be part Japanese. I don't know. I just expected the lead singer of Hoobastank to be like a white trash looking dude with long hair. That's what I expected. Ty said Moline, Davenport, and Bettendorf, Rock Island. I nailed it. One of my favorite places I've ever lived. I think I've said that before. Probably my favorite place I ever lived was in the Quad Cities in Iowa. There's something about that place. It's magical. Nah, he was a babe. Yeah, he didn't look like... But with the music, it's just not what I expected. I expected just like a grungy white dude, and that wasn't him. Anyways, let's get started with the show today. I want to start with this story because this is actually pretty crazy. It's picking up everywhere. Scott Pelley, who from 60 Minutes, is no longer with 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes is being gutted. They don't like the news coverage of the Trump administration. Barry Weiss, who was installed with absolutely no accreditation and no experience, is running CBS for reasons nobody's figured out other than to protect Israel. So now we're starting to gut 60 Minutes, which sucks. And I didn't know this. 60 Minutes is, you can't make the same argument about 60 Minutes that you can make about other broadcast television. 60 Minutes is huge. And it's huge online, too. And they've revamped everything. They make all their stuff available. You can get it on YouTube. We use 60 Minutes all the time here. And yet Barry Weiss has found it necessary to start gutting 60 Minutes. And everybody in journalism is pushing back against this one.
Turmoil at 60 Minutes.
I'm Scott Pelley.
Veteran correspondent Scott Pelley blasting CBS News leadership in a fiery meeting Monday, accusing editor-in-chief Barry Weiss of murdering the revered show, according to a source in the room and an audio recording obtained by NBC News.
Oh, shit, video. Sorry. I forgot that I hadn't changed that. Sorry about that. We'll keep going.
Exchange came during a staff meeting with the brand new 60 Minutes executive producer, technology journalist and documentary maker Nick Bilton, who was tapped by Weiss last week, despite never having worked in traditional broadcast news. At Monday's meeting, Bilton warned staff that broadcast is an ice cube that is melting, and the show must adapt. But added that Weiss loved 60 Minutes, according to the recording. At that, Pelley interrupted, saying firmly, she does not love this place. She was brought in to kill it, and she's been doing exactly that. Adding, she has no qualifications for her job, and telling his new boss directly, you have slender qualifications for this job. Former 60 Minutes head Bill Owens also blasting CBS Monday night.
Scott can smell the fraud from a mile away.
As concerns grow for the landmark show.
60 Minutes really is the crown jewel of American journalism, and there's a lot of fear and anxiety among people.
The fiery meeting comes just days after Weiss fired the show's executive producer, Tanya Simon, her deputy, and two 60 Minutes correspondents. Among them, Sharon Alfonsi, whose story questioning the Trump administration's immigration policies was temporarily held by Weiss just before it was set to air in December.
This is what the Trump administration has done to our country and our discourse, and that's going to be kind of the theme of the show today. But anything they call for balance. They call for middle of the road journalism. They call for like, hey, you got to be fair. What do you do if you're a journalist? What do you do if you're 60 Minutes? And everything that comes out of the Trump administration is a lie. Are you required to just cover the lies as if they need to be covered? What do you do? This sucks. This sucks for our country. No Republican's going to give a goddamn about this. Why? Oh, because all media is bad. Why do you think that? Because you're in a fucking cult. Because they've just told you all media is bad. And now we have legitimate, like, state. Yeah, thank you. Who said that, Penny? We have legitimately, we're moving into state-run media. Ironically, the thing that they've been accusing the left of doing forever is now being done by the right. And it's being done in a different way. It's being done with actual lies. You know why media and journalism, it has a left-leaning slant? Because conservatives are liars. The entire ideology is a lie. It's convincing you that things that happened didn't happen. It's convincing you that the things you saw with your very own eyes didn't happen, and then ignoring those things and saying, let's never change. What has the GOP done in the last 20 years that is newsworthy outside of corruption? No, Democrats lie too. Democrats lie. I'm talking about conservatism, though, right? The ideology of conservatism is a lie. Everything conservatives believe in is a fairy tale. Who owns the media? Look it up. Well, who owns CBS News? Look it up. Who owns it? Richard? Let's talk about this. Do you know, Richard? Look this up. Who owns CBS News? You want to look it up? You guys want to tell them who owns CBS News? It doesn't even matter who owns the media, right? It matters is what they're saying. Is it true or is it not? No, Richard, answer the question. We're not playing these games today. Now he goes immediately. You ask Richard a question. The illusion of left and right is a lie. I'm back on the fence immediately. You asked me a question. I now must return to the fence. Paramount. Who owns Paramount? Larry Ellison. Who's Larry Ellison? Is Larry Ellison on the right or the left? Yeah, conservatives have bought up all media. We need the both sides sound. I know, we need to make it. This sucks. This really, really fucking sucks for America. There's virtually nobody left with massive platforms that isn't actively being canceled. Like even you can even look at Hassan trying to actively cancel Hassan. It's so gross to watch you guys just like kowtow to this shit.
Fonzie publicly calling that a political decision, while Weiss said the segment wasn't ready.
Richard, nobody cares what you think anymore. Because you said that the left owned the media. We asked you a question, and now you're sitting on the fence. I just want you to know that nobody here on this live gives a goddamn what you're saying anymore. You can't just be a coward that way and then retreat and start giving out life lessons. If you can control how people perceive things, you can control their lives. Yeah, duh. That's what MAGA has done. The biggest threat to MAGA is reality. So they have to now skew your reality. That's what everybody's afraid of.
Between journalists and leadership had already been high since David Ellison took over CBS News parent company Paramount last year and appointed Weiss, a former columnist critical of legacy media, as editor-in-chief. Since then, the network and 60 Minutes has seen multiple shakeups, including the loss of star Anderson Cooper.
To give up something you've watched since you were a kid, yeah, I will miss this.
Now some wonder if the clock is ticking on a Sunday institution.
A lot of folks also wondering if the clock is ticking on Scott Pelley at CBS.
Gross. That's what we're going to talk about all day. the attack on reality. I'm not in a good mood today. I think you guys can probably tell. So I apologize. I'm going to probably try and ignore trolls today. But like I'm devastated today. I sat here all morning. I was up at 4:30 this morning, and I've just done nothing. I've done nothing but watch Republicans lie all morning. It's just every Republican in Congress is lying. Everybody that works in Congress is just covering shit up. Everybody testifying in front of Congress is just lying. They're obvious lies. Everybody knows that they're lying, and that's just our reality now. They can wake up and lie right to your face every day, and you go, Democrats. It's so frustrating. Everything is under attack. This is from More Perfect Union, but now like our voting is under attack. My bad mood is my problem. That's true. My bad mood is my problem. I control my own mood. I was just telling you I was in a bad mood, but thanks, Andy.
White House are teeming with conspiracy theories.
Sorry.
The internet and White House are teeming with conspiracy theories about secret plots to steal elections. But what I'm about to tell you, this is the real thing, and it's been hiding in plain sight. All that talk about stealing elections and undocumented immigrants voting.
The Democrats cheat, Republicans don't cheat.
That's an insane thing to say. Such an insane, but you guys believe it. You guys just buy that. Like Republicans don't cheat. And every time they cheat, you're like, oh, well, Democrats cheat too. We've just given up. Amy said 60 Minutes famously broke the stories that brought down R.J. Reynolds, Big Tobacco, the opioid and Big Pharma stories, undercover huge breaks, among other things like companies poisoning our waterways. Yeah, look, some of you might be new here, and you can look up the name Lori Vallow if you'd like. But Lori Vallow is somebody here in Arizona that killed her ex-husband, killed her new boyfriend, helped plot the death of her new husband's wife. They were married at the time. Killed her own 2 kids, tried to kill one of my best friends, had his kids on a hit list. I was in and out of court cases supporting him. And it was interesting, like it was places like 60 Minutes and a guy named Justin Lum, who's a reporter here in Phoenix. They were the ones that broke the story. They were the ones that kept the pressure on with Lori Vallow. It was hugely important to every one of those court cases that 60 Minutes was covering Lori Vallow. It was huge. They do really, really important work. So that's why I'm disgusted. And then this. Republicans are telling you all the time that the election was stolen. They have no evidence of that. In fact, we've been covering the election stuff the last 2 days, and the evidence of stolen election is actually on the contrary. The stolen election data, where you actually get data and you have things that don't make any sense, that all seems to be Republicans that are cheating and covering it up. And now we have the attacks on mail fraud, or election fraud through the mail, which there's no evidence happens. None. Zero. Zip. 2,000 Mules completely debunked. They've had to apologize so that they didn't have to pay millions of dollars because they relied on data that didn't prove what they said it proved. But they're still doing it. And they're using this lie to now go after mail-in voting, despite the fact that there is no problem with mail-in voting. Why are they going after mail-in voting? Because it benefits Democrats. So they lie for years, get you guys convinced mail-in voting's a problem without any fucking evidence whatsoever. And then they go and they attack mail-in voting. Here's the story. Did we just lose TikTok? No, not yet.
Actually a cover for something deeper and more insidious.
This may be the most important executive order he's ever signed.
Republicans have to win this one.
We've been going all over the country to look at voter rolls.
This myth of non-citizen voting appears to have been a billionaire-backed, funder-driven effort to make it harder to vote, which increases the relative power of wealthy donors.
This is all about class war. As the economy tanks, working people are becoming more and more fed up with a government co-opted by financial elites, big tech, and energy companies. At the same time,
nobody's crying about election fraud, Mondo Para. We're saying that you guys don't know what you're talking about, and now you're cheating. And this is like you are proof of what we're saying. We'll stop the show here for a second. Watch this, Mondo Para. Can you give me one piece of evidence that is verifiable that says Democrats used mail-in voting to rig the 2020 election or to cheat? And I'm going to ask you that, and you are going to respond with a criticism of me or Democrats. You're not going to give us a piece of evidence. You're going to respond with an ad hominem attack. And then I'm going to play this video, And this video is going to say exactly what I'm saying, is that you guys have all been duped. There's no evidence, but you didn't need evidence. You just need to believe it. So that when your administration starts cheating, you won't care. You'll be like, oh, everybody cheats. And it is predictable. Like where it is. Democrats had the Epstein files for 4 years. How the fuck? How did I do it? How did I do it? How did I predict that she would go after Democrats and something unrelated? Do you see how easy it is to predict every fucking thing you'll say? You can never respond to a claim. Zero election fraud. Welcome to California. Yeah, see, now we're on to California. You going to give me an example? You hit the nerve right on the head. It's hitting the nail on the head, dummy. You don't hit the nerves, don't have heads. See what I mean? Any of you, any Republican, give me one example of election fraud being done with mail-in voting. Just one. You won't. But we'll play this whole thing and you'll dismiss it because you have been led to believe that somehow there was fraud. There wasn't.
The billionaire class is working to silence any dissent to their massive tax breaks, shredding the social safety net, and mass surveillance. Just last month, conservatives on the Supreme Court, most of whom are linked to billionaire-funded dark money groups, successfully eviscerated the Voting Rights Act, further cementing Republican power.
That's the kind of ruling I like.
But the bigger motive behind moves like these actually transcends partisan politics. And that's because the various anti-voter proposals coming out of the White House would make life hell for many Republicans.
Yeah, there's Monopar. We all know the truth. I'm not going to give you any examples. We just all know. Yeah, this is why we say you're in a cult. This is what cults do. This is what Scientologists do. This is what Mormons do. This is what the people at Waco did. The Branch Davidians. This is what you sound exactly like every other cultist. That's why it's so easy to predict what you're going to say. You're going to just attack back and then be like, we all know the truth. No, you don't. If you knew the truth, you could tell us what the truth is. Once again, and by the way, we'll just get rid of you for the next 20 minutes or however long. Just one example of voter fraud that was done through the mail that you can point to. Just one. That's it. That should be easy, right? Because we all know, you said. We know, that would include you. You all know. So obviously you don't believe this stuff with no evidence, obviously. You wouldn't just take somebody's word for it. You would have some evidence, and that's how you know, right? So just give us that piece of information. We would love to hear it. And then I'll just stop the video, and I'll say that they were lying. Just one piece of evidence that would show us that election fraud was done through mail-in voting, please.
Republican voters, too. A few weeks
ago. Did Kamala Harris have primaries? One more chance, and then we'll just get rid of you, Mondo Para.
We ran the first poll that asked working-class Americans how Trump's election policies would actually impact them. We'll reveal the numbers and show how all of this is secretly being driven by billionaires dedicated to making sure working and middle-class voters don't have their say in November or in 2028. Let's roll it back to 2024. In the last election, 73.6% of eligible citizens registered to vote. And only 65.3% actually voted. So already we're not batting 1,000.
The president's allies in Congress.
All right, this is the last time I'm responding to you, Mondo Para. Look up who won the Democrat primaries. We showed it yesterday. The Democrats had primaries. There was Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, and Joe Biden. They all ran in the primaries. Joe Biden won every state. The primaries were, I think, almost entirely over when Joe Biden decided to step down. And then those delegates who were elected by Democrats got to select who they wanted to be the candidate for president, because that's how all of this shit works. And they chose Kamala Harris. They could have chose Marianne Williamson. They could have chose Dean Phillips. Somebody else could have gotten the race. They could have chose that person. They didn't. This is how primaries work. Everything you believe is a lie. Everything you believe is propaganda. And it's embarrassing how sure you are of things that a 20-second Google search would tell you you're wrong about, and you're afraid to even do the fucking Google search. You won't even look it up. You're going to keep saying the same dumb shit the next time you're here because you don't want to know the truth. You want to live in this little world where you don't have to research anything or know anything. You just get to be confidently dumb. You wake up every day confidently dumb with the world at your fingertips, where you could literally find the answer to anything. And you're like, I refuse to do that. I refuse to be educated. I am staying in my safe space with my cult, and I refuse to ever learn anything. It is absolutely pea-brained for you to, in front of these people, say, oh, there was no Democratic primary. That's like saying that the sun isn't up today. It's fucking up. If I look out there, there's the sun. But if Donald Trump told you there's no sun, you'd be like, yeah, there's no sun. If Fox News every day was like, it has now been 365 straight days of darkness, you'd be like, yep, it's dark. It's dark out there. It's pathetic.
Are pushing dangerous anti-voter legislation like the Save America Act and the Make Elections Great Again Act, either of which would be the most restrictive federal laws around voting in elections. Basically,
if you have an MTV movie night, the Helson's own MTV too. Fuck, I guess we're not doing that.
American history.
The SAVE Act and its permutations look stuck in Congress, but much of what they would do has been laundered into executive orders. You can break it down into a few categories: proof of citizenship, bans on mail-in voting, and intimidation and interference, all proposed under the guise of securing our elections from non-citizen voting.
I think what most people don't realize is that proposals for voter ID that have come out of this administration would be stricter than anything currently on the books in any state.
President Trump wants to mandate proof of citizenship to even register to vote, which only comes in the form of an up-to-date
All right, let's play this game. Vicky, you said it's the same on the Dem side, crazy on both sides. Okay, while you're playing both sides, give me one example of something that Democrats believe that is factually not true. She's gonna talk about trans people. Go ahead, Vicky. We've stopped the show now. It's the same on both sides, right? Everybody's the same. So just give me an example of something all of us Democrats say every day that isn't true. We're ready. Did somebody put Mondo in timeout? Good. Mondo needs to think about that. I answered like 12 questions from Mondo. He won't answer one. All right, Vicky, we're waiting though. By the way, Vicky, if you don't answer this question, you can say, I don't know. That was a dumb comment, something like that. But if you don't answer this question, we have to mute you for 5 minutes. I'm not in a great mood today, so I'm more than happy to mute people all day. We gotta retrain you guys. I'm not going to attack or condemn. I didn't ask you to attack or condemn. I asked you for an example. One more try, Vicky. What's one thing? Because you said both sides do this. What's one thing that Democrats believe that isn't true? Melanie, it's easy to show you documented evidence of 2020 voter fraud. It's just all the fraud I recall hearing about was committed by Republicans. There is some fraud, yeah, for sure. All right, Vicky, real quick, because we do have to mute you, because we don't do both sides shit here unless you actually have a good argument. No, Vicky? 5, 4. I won't let you bait me. Okay, have a good day.
Passport with the correct address or a birth certificate. Do you know where your birth certificate is right now? I don't.
Half of Americans don't have a passport. 1 in 10 Americans doesn't have a birth certificate.
Cisco Aguilar, the Secretary of State in Nevada, sees this proposal as a modern-day poll tax.
They all say, oh, well, everybody has a passport. No, not everybody has a passport. Those that are privileged enough to have a passport will be fine. But again, it's that working class community that we are taking out of the picture and taking away the opportunity for them to have a voice.
The numbers are stark. A YouGov poll last year found that just 28% of Americans with a household income of less than $50,000 possessed a valid passport, compared to 80% of those who make at least $100,000.
And it's definitely not an attack on poor people, right? It's definitely not just Republicans once again going after poor people. Right?
Doesn't fall evenly on gender either. Trump's proposals would require these up-to-date records of anyone who has changed their last name. You know, like 80% of married women. Plus, the administration wants to require proof of citizenship every time someone...
Baby, and that's not true. You said you don't need a passport, just an ID. No, in many cases, that's going to be your only option. But it's not just any ID. Most of our IDs that we have aren't going to work for what the Republicans are trying to pass in the SAVE Act. My ID wouldn't work. I would have to go get a new ID. I live in Arizona. Mine doesn't work. Luckily, I have a passport. But if I didn't have that passport, I would have to go pay to get a new ID just to vote. You guys are trying to make it harder for people to vote. The reality is, and this is true, you can go look back at every election. The lower the turnout, the better it is for Republicans. They need to suppress as many people as they possibly can to win elections. That's how it works every time.
Updates their registration info. And for renters in this economy, that's often a yearly task. You don't need a tinfoil hat to start to see who is being targeted.
Working class and lower income folks, voters in rural communities, especially Native and tribal communities, and voters on the very young and...
By the way, also for the record, the SAVE Act has nothing to do with voter ID. That's a lie that they tell you so that you don't read the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act is just a way to suppress voting. That's what it's for. If we needed the SAVE Act, certainly any of you would be able to point. Like, you can do this, and this is how they get you. This is how cults operate. They change the argument. They claim that there's fraud and that voter ID will fix the fraud, but they can't point to any fraud. So what are they fixing? What's the fraud that they're fixing? And then they get you to not focus on the fact that they don't have any evidence of the fraud. They just go, oh, well, you definitely need an ID, and if you can't get an ID, you're an idiot. And so you guys just make that argument. And you all make the same argument that we've all heard a million times. None of this is new. Before I think we should change laws, I think you should be able to identify the problem that you're trying to fix. What is the problem that you are trying to fix? And I keep asking you guys, can you point to some evidence of a problem that we need to fix? And you all get mad, and then you're just like, it's easy to get an ID. Who cares? What's the problem? Why are we so focused on fixing this problem when nobody can identify the problem that we're trying to fix?
Very old ends of the spectrum.
Keep those demographics in mind when considering the fact that the Brennan Center found that 21 million voting-age Americans don't have these proof of citizenship documents readily available. Our poll also found that 13...
I like that too. I've never met somebody that didn't have ID. Yes, you have. What do you... I've never asked somebody for their ID. How would you even know that? Do you ask everybody you meet, hey, do you have an ID? Do you have an ID that would qualify under the SAVE Act? No, you're just saying shit again because you want to believe this. So now you're making up arguments in your head that don't exist. I know lots of people without ID. Lots. I used to hire. There were a lot of times it was really hard. People would come in for a job and they're like, I don't have any ID. I can't, I don't have access to my birth certificate. It's from another state. They're living in Arizona. Maybe they were born in Connecticut. And it was just a nightmare. Because we had to follow the law, we had to help them go obtain documents to get ID. And it wasn't super easy. And it was expensive. You had to pay to do it. You don't always need ID. I could function in my life without ID. I could take public transit. I could buy groceries. I don't think anybody has ever ID'd me to buy anything that didn't require an age verification. I've never been ID'd to buy food. That's one of those arguments that the Republicans trot out all the time. Like, oh, you need ID to buy groceries. When? Nobody ever gets ID'd to buy groceries.
15% of the working class voting population does not have a passport. And to get one, that's a really big lift for many.
Nevada's a working community, right? We're a 24/7 economy.
Let's see. Science said MAGA and most Republicans are far too stupid to help save America from these fascist billionaires. We need progressives to win over Democrats and independents to turn this around. I don't even know. To be honest, it's just lazy. Conservatives are just lazy. Republicans are lazy. They're not really willing to figure out answers. They just want to be spoon-fed shit. And that's why everything they say sounds stupid, because they just never look it up. Again, we do this 4 times a week. We're just like, tell us something that is true, and they can't ever do it.
Service industry based. And a lot of people don't have access to additional resources or the time to do this. When you ask them to go spend 4 hours trying to accumulate these documents, that's 4 hours where they're not making money. And it's going to cost them not only for the documents, but it's up the opportunity costs that they could earn a living to provide for their family or themselves.
According to our poll, 66% of working class voters said that the $130 fee for a new passport would be difficult for them to afford.
Burnout said, it's easy to be in a bad mood under this regime. We appreciate what you do. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And 47% of working class voters say that it would deter or prevent them from voting. It'd be tough on middle class voters too. 53% say it'd be cost prohibitive, and 36% say they wouldn't be able to vote. And for what? The number of non-citizens voting in American elections is essentially zero. But since 2020, a subset of activists has become obsessed with the idea.
All of the groups that had been built up into this election denial infrastructure started almost simultaneously talking about the myth of non-citizen voting. And it was very clearly a coordinated effort, very likely a funder-driven effort.
I like that one. How do you feel when the real men laugh at you? One, I don't know what real men means, but it is interesting how many of you care so much about the opinion of other men. I don't care. I could give a shit what men think about me, or honestly anybody, but isn't it weird how much you focus on what you think men think about you? Why are you so worried about what other men think about you? To be honest, I don't think most men like me very much. I don't think they do. I'm one of those men who thinks that like it's kind of easier if you're a white dude in this country. Like being a man in this country is easier than being a woman in this country. Being a white dude in this country is easier than being virtually anything else. And men don't like that because men generally are fragile and they want to believe that they earned this position of power. They want to believe that the patriarchy was earned and that somehow they were part of it, but they weren't. They were just born into it and they were handed that spoon. So yeah, like, do I give a fuck what men think about, real men think about me? No. I don't spend a single moment thinking about that, but it is odd how much you guys think about it. It is odd that the manosphere, men talking, looks maxing, like high value men, it's odd how much time you guys spend thinking about what other men, how other men view you. I don't care. I honestly, like, I have a small circle. My circle will always be small. Most of you watching know almost nothing about my personal life. I really, really, really don't care. But you should think about how much you care about what men think about you. What I think about, and what I would say is, like, as a man, what I would like real men to be, or like good men to be, I would like men to think about their position of power and their position of privilege and use that position to help others. Right? Like, it's a waste of my time to talk about the plight of the white man in this country and the great replacement theory. Why? Because I'm not affected. But there are groups of people in this country who are marginalized, who are affected. So let's think about like the positions that we take. I take a position that I have privilege, and because I have that position of privilege, it is my responsibility to advocate for people who don't have that privilege. That's an easy thing to do, right? That's for all of you Christians out there. I think that's in the Bible, but that's just like a smart way to look at life. Like, we can't really all be equal. We can't have equality. We can't have peace. We can't have a fair system until everything's fair. So let's just advocate that we make things fair. Let's make it so no matter where you were born, no matter what you look like, no matter what your genitals are, no matter how you identify, you shouldn't be stopped from accomplishing your goals because of your identity, whatever your identity might be. That's a normal position. Real men, alpha men, the manosphere people are like, we're actually under attack. We are the greatest. Men, you must lead. On what? What are you leading on? What are these great men leading on? I make a lot of money. Okay. I don't respect conservative men very much. I don't respect conservative ideology very much. I think it's silly. I think it's fear. I think that you guys are all deathly afraid that people who are qualified that look different than you are going to take your position, and that makes you nervous. And so you pretend that that other people are attacking you. I've been talking to a couple friends of mine all morning, and like the way that we were raised is that we punch down. It's ironic too. It's like affluent Christian conservatives. They just punch down constantly. We were talking about Spencer Pratt specifically, and Spencer Pratt's entire policy is, I'm going to take people who are unhoused and I'm going to move them to what I call a concentration camp. You can call it whatever you want, onto federal land. There's $1 trillion in taxes that goes unpaid in America every single year by the richest people in America, and we do nothing to collect that money. And yet, conservatives are more than happy to look at people who literally don't have a house, who literally sleep on the streets. And instead of saying, maybe we ought to collect these taxes, maybe we ought to make a more equitable system, they say, these people are icky and I don't like looking at them. So let's focus on getting rid of all of these unhoused people and getting them out of the way so that we don't have to look at them anymore. They're icky. Spencer Pratt's literally going through LA and he's campaigning. If you like Spencer Pratt, his campaign to you is, these people are icky and you shouldn't have to look at them. That's not fair. Let's get rid of them. Look how clean this sidewalk is. And you're like, yay. Doesn't address what got LA to that place. I looked. Do you guys know the per capita places? Per capita, which cities have the highest rates of unhoused? It's Eugene, Oregon, number 1. I believe it is is it Santa Clara number 2? Is one of those somewhere near San Francisco number 2. I think LA is like 3 or 4. New York is right there. What do all of those places have in common? Extreme wealth disparity, extreme wealth inequality. You think that's just a coincidence that the places with the largest wealth inequality, which means the biggest economies, you think it's just a coincidence that those places also have the highest per capita rates of unhoused people? Of course not. But we're not going to address that. We're not going to address that because what conservatives want to do is keep things the same. And they're like, oh, taxes are theft. And so you won't ever address the real problem. You just want to take the thing that you don't like and move it away so you don't have to look at it anymore. And in order to do that, you have to rig elections like this. In order to do that, you have to, again, punch down. Everything that you guys are saying, like, oh, if you can't afford a license, then you shouldn't be voting. It's easy to get a license. Oh, what, you can't afford $15? Who can't afford $15? Poor people. Who can't afford to take time? Who doesn't have cars? Who doesn't have transportation? Who doesn't have access to the documents that they would need to get an ID to vote? Poor people. Why are you always going after poor people? Every policy that you guys advocate for is just demonizing poor people. Why is that? I'll look. Let's look at the chat here. I'll look for a second. Why? Is there a single policy you have that doesn't blame poor people or immigrants for our problems? No. And then you have the right to, then you have the audacity to throw that cross around your neck and be like, I'm a follower of Jesus. Are you out of your mind? Jesus was homeless. He didn't have a house. He didn't have a job. He was a panhandler. He walked around with his buddies who also didn't have jobs. He's like, hey, you should all quit your jobs and let's just go be panhandlers and let's talk to people. The same people that are like, this guy's an e-beggar. All right. I don't think I'm that different, to be honest. I'm advocating that we take care of the poor. I'm advocating that we take care of marginalized people. I'm advocating that we take from the rich to give to those people. Like, the only difference is I say fuck a lot. But if I cleaned up my language and spoke biblically, like, I'm going to sound exactly like Jesus. And that's what triggers you the most. Like, no, it really is the poor people. It really is the immigrants. They're the problem. It's definitely not the rich people. He couldn't stand you folks. You think Jesus would support Spencer Pratt? I saw him. He's like, this is God's will for me to be mayor. You're running on a campaign. Your entire campaign is poor people are icky. That's the entire campaign. And you think Jesus was like, yeah, we got to get Spencer Pratt in office. It's just getting gross and it's old and it sucks. And it sucks that we're looking at this. Now we're cheating in elections to make sure poor people can't vote. Why? Yeah, poor people probably aren't going to vote for rich people to get more tax breaks. That's probably why.
To coordinate around this single line of messaging.
Brendan Fisher of the Campaign Legal Center took us down the funder rabbit hole. Because while the giant gaping loopholes in campaign finance law make it intentionally difficult for people to follow the money, there are some big names that you really need.
That say, Junior Minta is crying, here's some change to send them some tissue. Yeah, whatever you guys do not give money to the e-beggar up here. Don't do that. That makes them very upset. I got that from Jen.
Need to know.
A lot of the national groups get their money from billionaires like Dick Uihlein or Elon Musk or wealthy, powerful individuals who control a lot of money like Leonard Leo.
You might recognize Leonard Leo as the guy who picked Donald Trump's Supreme Court justices.
Leonard Leo, who controls over $1 billion, has groups like the Honest Elections Project and Save Our State, which have been playing an important role, at least in helping to advance messaging and policy development.
This January, the Honest Elections Project released a big game plan that literally outlined each of the steps that Trump has pursued, including serious restrictions on mail-in voting.
Tell me about mail-in ballots.
You know, the method that Trump both constantly rails against and uses himself.
I used a mail-in ballot. You probably said, yeah, I did. You know what? Because I'm president of the United States.
There are also
Yeah, isn't that weird how it's not fraudulent when he does it? Once again, conservatives, while you're here, just give us one piece of evidence that shows that mail-in ballots contribute to election fraud. Just one piece of evidence. Godzilla King says, real men use their strength and power to protect the weak. Duty, honor, justice, and integrity are major ideals, I think, that make up a man, and especially achieving those through kindness. All truly strong men are kind. Yeah, I think that just makes up good people. I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't know what the fuck a real man is. I think that's silly. I think it's men telling each other what a real man is. But like the people that I respect are exactly what you're describing. Duty, honor, justice, integrity, kindness. Yeah, I think those are good people.
Foundations like the Bradley Foundation and all of these organizations collectively.
I love these names too. Save Our States, Honest Elections, says the people that are buying to cheat, elections to cheat. You really think Elon Musk and Dick Uihlein are worried about our elections because they're fraudulent, or do you think they want to make sure that they stay in power? Leonard Leo, which is one of the most powerful people in this country that nobody ever talks about. You think this is like they have all this power, and you think they're funding these projects to make things more equal? There's no way you believe that.
Or tens and at this point hundreds of millions of dollars into supporting these broad national groups.
The Bradley Foundation is a Wisconsin-based organization that put more money than
Q e-beggar. Just kidding. Keep being like Jesus. Thanks, illusion.
Anybody into election denialism and voter suppression. They were a big sponsor of the Only Citizens Vote Coalition, a who's who of billionaire-funded anti-voter organizations, over 80 in total, a lot of them involved in Project 2025.
They help craft legislation. They provide testimony when...
No, I haven't talked about that, Nicholas. I haven't. In fact, I haven't even heard that story. If you want to send it to me, that hasn't even come across any of my feeds.
Legislation that would undermine the freedom to vote is moving in state legislatures or sometimes in Congress. They're more of the experts in the room.
Back in 2024, Only Citizens Vote created model anti-voter legislation in partnership with the massive corporate lobby group ALEC. Leading the way on that legislation was Cleta Mitchell. She's a Federalist Society member, OG election denier, and most importantly, on the board of the Bradley Foundation.
All we have to do, Cleta, is find 11,000 plus votes.
Cleta Mitchell now has her own group called the Fair Elections Fund, which helps to coordinate many of these efforts as well as seed money to state-based groups, some of which are themselves associated with the Election Integrity Network.
Okay, here's another big name, the Election Integrity Network, which brings us down another rabbit hole. The Election Integrity Network is fueled by just a few big players, including the Conservative Partnership Institute and Citizens for Renewing America. The Conservative Partnership Institute is funded by Trump donors. It's run by former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and gets its money from big players like the Koch-linked Donors Trust Fund.
Dolphin says, Christians, get out and vote. And just one more time, we'll fix it. Fix it so good. You'll never have to vote again. TJT, bunch of hippa Christians. I like that. And W, Dolphin, for the $50 sent over there on PayPal. Thank you so much, Dolphin.
Group funded by the founder of Hobby Lobby and, of course, the Bradley Impact Fund Foundation. With all of this backing, members of the Election Integrity Network have infiltrated state, local, and federal government, where they're implementing the goals of their billionaire patrons. Back in February, some of its top members attended a summit of elite election deniers and Trump administration officials. On the agenda, urging the White House to declare a national emergency to take control of elections. A month later, Trump took action with a new executive order aiming to do just that.
His latest executive order targets vote by mail by attempting to restrict who the U.S. Postal Service can send mail ballots to, by working with DHS to try and create a supercharged federal citizenship and voter eligibility database.
Now, this is just bypassing the law. So this is outside of the fact that this is an obvious attempt to subvert democracy. This is the what do they call that? Executive unitary executive theory on display. This is Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation trying to push this idea that the executive branch can just do whatever the fuck they want. They can literally just like rewrite laws, and they can do that by taking the departments that they have oversight on and getting them to enforce things that Congress won't do. Nightcrawler, thank you so much for the gifted subs. Appreciate that over on Twitch.
Which is not something that they're authorized by law to do.
Oh, sorry. And B87 said they've had mail-in voting in Utah for over a decade. Utah's mostly white. Why hasn't ever been a problem here? I think we know why. Because it's Republican.
And not something that the federal government really has the capacity to do.
The SAFE system is a system that they built from scratch. They say does a proof of citizenship on voters to determine whether or not that voter is eligible to vote.
And spoiler alert, it's a mess.
What they're trying to do is force 3 major federal bureaucracies.
PET scan came up negative. Free subs. Thanks, Nightcrawler, and congratulations. That's amazing. Electric Dad said, what do you think about Hawaii law banning Citizens United? I'm going to cover that next week, so we'll get to that, but I love it.
Bureaucracies that can't function within themselves to create a national voter roll within 60 days. It's preposterous, and it's a pipe dream.
There's all sorts of false positives. There's plenty of examples of voters being identified as non-citizens when in fact they are citizens.
Let's go to the poll. 53% of respondents in each income bracket say that eliminating vote by mail will make it harder for them to vote. The alternative is voting on election day, and working class people were 6 points less likely to have the time to vote during the day than upper income respondents.
And to working class people, percentage-wise, who do they vote for? How come all of this disproportionately affects, like the poorer you are, the more this affects you? Do we really not see that? Do we really not see that, conservatives, or do you just not care? Amber said, mail-in voting is more secure. Mail-in has a constant paper trail. You have to prove your address, verified signature, birth, and citizenship. Then the ballot is sent to your address. When sent back, they compare signatures. I was sick in 2012, and mine was rejected because it didn't match.
24% of Americans voted by mail in 2024. And if people can't vote by mail, they'll have to wait in endlessly long lines on Election Day, a time-honored way to suppress the vote.
You're damn right. We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again.
After a year of ICE occupying cities and raiding people's homes and schools, people are understandably terrified of the prospect of getting locked up for trying to vote, especially people of color. Our poll found that 12% of Black, Asian, and Latino voters would be less likely to vote if they heard ICE was at their polling place.
Who's that going to affect more, Republicans or Democrats? See, this is the game, though. Republicans are like, well, that's not our fault. We got to keep it secure. From what? Secure from what? Where's the election fraud that you're keeping this secure from? Do you see how easy it is for them to convince you that there's a problem so that they can make it harder for people to vote that won't vote for them? We've asked you, what are we in? We're an hour in now. 0 Republicans have given us any verified proof of voter fraud. None. And yet, you're still willing to be convinced. How did you become people that are convinced without evidence? How did this happen?
That's almost double the 7% of white respondents who said that they'd be wary of voting with ICE lurking around.
It's a huge issue. I mean, I hear about it every single day. Somebody asks me about it. And it's not only Latinos in the Latino community. It's the general.
This election will give you all the proof you need. That makes no sense. Edward, we're going to stop this. Edward, you're going to explain to us. So how will this election give us all the proof that we need, Edward? I'm going to ask you guys so many questions today. This might be an annoying show for some of you. Explain it, Edward. How will this election give us all the proof that we need? IMFRCD said Florida has mail-in voting. Florida for 20 years. You are clueless. Watch how many people get arrested for having false documents. Wait, how would they get arrested for having false documents? Wouldn't it just be rejected? How would that happen? So is that you're going to let people vote? So you're going to let, is that the claim? You're going to let people register to vote with fake documents, then they're going to vote, and then you're going to go back and arrest them. That's what's going to happen? Jesus. Notice how all of your evidence, Richard, I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but have you ever noticed how all of the evidence that Donald Trump and MAGA ever have is coming in the future? And the future never seems to show up. Oh, we'll prove the 2020 election was stolen. Wait till we show you Hillary's emails. Wait till we lock up the Clintons. Just wait till you see what we do with Obama. Just how it's always, all the evidence you have is a thing that hypothetically is going to happen in the future. And when it doesn't happen, it doesn't seem to change your mind. Because the future is just any time. So you can just live the rest of your life believing that this will happen. That what you're saying won't happen in the midterms. None of that will happen. One, because the SAVE Act isn't going to pass. So all these things that you think are going to happen aren't going to happen. But even if the SAVE Act passed, none of that would happen. And it wouldn't change your mind one bit. You would still, on that day or after those days, you'd be like, oh, it's coming. It'll be here soon. Soon you'll see the evidence. 10 years now. 10 years, and Donald Trump hasn't provided evidence of any of the things he said he was going to do or were going to happen. All this fraud he was going to uncover, this draining of the swamp. Nobody in jail. Not one. Doesn't matter. I'll just keep going. Melissa said, MAGA, you ever wonder why the outside world doesn't watch what your leader or match what your leader tells you? Post-historic times, we learn about mistakes, not to repeat them. I don't understand what your problem is with proving you're a United States citizen before you vote, and what for what happens in the United States. That's the law. What is your problem with it? I don't have a problem with that. You just pointed out, crazy counter couponer, that it is the law that you have to prove your citizenship. And in every state, before you vote, you have to prove your citizenship. My problem is that the SAVE Act doesn't make you prove your citizenship. It adds additional hurdles that make it harder for poor people to vote. That's my problem with it. There is not a single state in this country where you do not have to prove that you're a citizen before you are allowed to vote. Every single state requires you to prove your citizenship. Yes, even including California. My problem is that what they're telling you is a lie. What they're telling you is that they're doing this for election security, but what they're actually doing is election suppression. That's why, again, this whole video, the Trump administration is effectively trying to shut down how many people can vote by mail, and they have provided zero evidence that voting by mail is a problem. That's what the problem is here. I hope that helps. But don't you think, before we change laws that disenfranchise millions of voters, that we should have evidence that the problem you claim you're trying to solve actually fucking exists? Otherwise, we're just disenfranchising voters for no reason, right? Now, you can believe that the problem exists, but don't you think that we should have to prove that before we make it more difficult for people to vote? No, you don't. Why don't you believe that? Because your overlords tell you that it's a problem, and then you never do any research. Unless you take into account the fraud exposed in Georgia and Arizona. Great. Bert. Terrific. I live in Arizona. I live in Maricopa County. Let's choose Arizona. What fraud has been exposed in Maricopa County specifically, and specifically in Georgia? Georgia, you're going to refer to 300,000 ballots. None of those ballots have been proven to be fraud. There was a chain of custody issues and like the signature, there weren't signatures on a few things, but they've actually gone back and audited those votes, and those are legitimate votes. So can you give me any evidence from Fulton County, Georgia, or Maricopa County that there's provable fraud? Yet no chain of custody isn't fraud. That means a rule wasn't followed. And when they did the audit, those votes were legitimate. So that's not fraud, right? That's somebody, and that happens in every election. In every election, there's a chain of custody problems. See how easy it is to lie to you? They tell you something's fraud, and it's not fraud, and you just believe it. 50,000 ballots were found to be illegally voted in Maricopa County itself. Let's look this up. Is it 50,000? You're saying in 2020? 202. Did the chain get broke? No, there were not 50,000 fraudulent ballots in Maricopa in 2020. This claim is false and has been repeatedly debunked by multiple investigations. So Biden won by 10,000 votes. Post-election hand count confirmed the original results. There was a hand count that confirmed it. We've had, I think, 5 audits. Cyber Ninja's audit, which was the Republican audit, found that Biden won by 360 more votes. Yeah, Google lies. Yeah, see, this is how it is. Google lies. Then when you're debunked, Google lies. But your Facebook post that you believed that from was absolutely true. Attorney General Barr said today, we've not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome. No court cases. This appears to stem from misinterpretations or distortions of the Cyber Ninjas audit, which did note some procedural discrepancies like confusing early voting with mail-in ballots, but never found 50,000 fraudulent ballots. Now, do you have any evidence contrary to this? No, you don't. You just believe it? You got it from government's website? What government website did you get it from? Go ahead and tell us what government website you did. We'll just pull it up here. Thank you, Mince. I appreciate that. What's the government website? He's not going to give the government website. He's going to say, look it up. Watch this. Look it up yourself. You could just tell. You can tell me what to search here. Which website? We'd want to probably go to the Secretary of State of Arizona. Yeah, thank you, Nathan. MAGA doesn't want to know what state Secretary of States do. Those 3 from villages were, yeah, that's not evidence. Anybody? No answer. Got it. I would just say to any conservatives who are open-minded here, I would like to just point out that every time we stop this and ask for any evidence at all, none is ever provided.
Community at large, because they don't want to go into a situation where they feel comfortable or where there could be chaos. People want to go where they feel safe and they feel welcome.
And while voters are being teased with the threat of prosecution, it might become a very real possibility for election workers.
The executive order also directs the Department of Justice to prosecute election officials who register people who provide insufficient proof.
When you add in that criminal element, that really scares them. It creates a huge burden and a huge weight on their shoulders, because at that point, it's not only about them, it's about their families.
So it's really setting up a kind of perverse incentive system where election officials are going to demand more and more and more proof to keep themselves.
Yeah, that's a good example right there, IMFRCD, of a example of voter fraud. Brian Pritchard, the first vice chairman of the Georgia Republican Party and a conservative talk show host, was fined $5,000 for voting illegally and registering to vote while serving a felony conviction. See, that would be an example of something that we could verify, and that's a Georgia Republican. And that's one vote. So obviously that didn't swing the election because he lost by like 11,000 votes there.
Safe.
The anti-democracy movement has grown in leaps and bounds.
Are you trying to start trouble with people? Sounds like it. Don't you think if the citizens unite instead of being divided would be a better place, this world we could actually go against? Yes. So what we need you to do, Crystal, and all these and everybody else, is we need to unite around things that are true. We need to unite around reality. You're asking for us to unite around lies. I'm not going to do that. Who in the world? Why would we unite around lies? Yes, unite. If you think our elections are fraudulent, then provide evidence. Don't ask us. Don't ask us to just believe you, though, right? There's the link. You didn't send a link, bud. What are you talking about? You just say, there's the link. There's no link there. It's just your words of there the link. Try again. You said it again. No, I see it. What link? He's not sending a link and then trying to pretend that it's not showing up in the chat.
Since 2020, fueled by 2 seemingly inexhaustible resources, conspiracy theories and right-wing billionaire cash. Just how much they can accomplish for their billionaire benefactors remains to be seen nationally, but quietly, they've already had a seismic impact on a more local level.
What they've
NPR as a globalist media. This isn't NPR. Also, what is a globalist media? That's crazy.
really built is a network of state-based activists.
23 states have passed some kind of proof of citizenship law, and a growing number of states are shortening mail-in vote windows. As of early May, a dozen states have complied with the DOJ's unprecedented requests for sensitive voter information, including information on individual voters targeted for disenfranchisement. And even in states where they haven't managed to pass legislation, experts say that the confusion and misinformation they promote has been disastrous. Luckily, not everyone is falling in line. The administration has now sued 30 states plus Washington, D.C. over their refusal to furnish the White House with sensitive voter information. And returning the favor, 23 states and D.C. are suing to block the latest executive order on mail-in voting, including Nevada.
We need to make sure that at the state level, we continue to fight these issues, doing everything we can by notifying and educating the public, but also using the legal system.
Oxblack, just wait, it's coming in 2 weeks.
To protect eligible voters.
The administration is trying to redefine eligible voters, and despite what they say, it has nothing to do with immigration or even party affiliation. The attacks on democracy are coming from the top down, all aimed at silencing working people and ensuring that billionaires have complete control of the country.
All right. Again, not debunked. Thank you, Jerry. That's very helpful. Deep state, globalist media. You guys get all your media from, or you get all of your opinions from Donald Trump, and then you have the audacity to talk about deep states and global media. It's crazy. How is all of your information just whatever Donald Trump says, and you still think like it's everybody else? That's crazy. This is the byproduct now. This is the GOP governor's debate in Colorado. The top three candidates are all obvious liars and lunatics. You don't even have serious people wanting to run on the GOP anymore. Everybody is just like a conspiracy theorist who has built their entire reputation on lies. This is Kyle Clark just eviscerating by simply asking questions to these candidates in Colorado for the GOP gubernatorial slot. I have a couple clips here, but my God, you guys can't get one normal person who just doesn't lie about their entire existence?
Mr. Bottoms, you have claimed without offering evidence that there are four.
All right, Edward, you can't post links on YouTube. I'll say this again. Tell me what I'm supposed to search. Tell me the evidence that you're trying to send. Tell me what I'm supposed to search. Links don't post on YouTube. They don't allow that.
45,000 to 50. Mr. Bottoms, you have claimed without offering evidence that there are 45,000 to 50,000 Tren de Aragua gang members in Colorado, mostly in rural areas, which is...
Let me do this one more time. Sorry, and then we'll start over. Jerry Garcia, I'll answer this for you one more time. You're talking about the Cloward and Piven. Cloward and Piven is a theory. It's not a plan, but the theory is, and this was from the 60s, Cloward and Piven is a theory that because the elite and the rich have so much control over this country that their theory was that the only way that you could overtake the control from the oligarchs was to overwhelm the financial systems of this country, to overwhelm specifically things that have guaranteed payouts. So like you could try and overwhelm welfare programs. It was a theory. It's not playing out in live time. It's just not. Like the biggest, like what's bankrupting us? What are our biggest expenditures? Our biggest expenditures are the military and the $1 trillion in taxes that we don't collect every single year. We literally wouldn't have a deficit if we just collected the taxes that we're owed every single year. So cool. Yes, it is. Look at Paris. Paris isn't bankrupting our country. That's a different country. Paris, there's this. So we're in America. It's hard to explain to MAGA, but we're in America, which is a country, the United States of America. Above us is Canada. Below us is Mexico. And then if you look on a map or a globe, there's this big blue part. And the blue part is called the Atlantic Ocean. And on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, if you go far enough, you run into Europe. In Europe, there's a whole bunch of countries like England and Spain and Germany and France. France is a country. And Paris is a city in France. And that is a different country. And what happens in Paris is not because of the effects of America, because it's a different government, right? So if somebody overloaded the system in Paris, that wouldn't mean a goddamn thing in America, because, again, the blue thing, the ocean, right, the big blue part, that's the ocean, separates America from Europe. And then there's these, like, if you look on that same globe, there's these lines everywhere in Europe. It's fucking confusing. But if you look in between those lines, there'll be like single words like France, Germany, Spain, Portugal. Those are names of other countries. And each one of those countries has their own government. And if you learn that part first, then maybe you would understand why telling me to look at Paris for why this theory is happening in America is a dumb fucking thing to say, right? There we go.
Odd, because that's 10 to 20 times the worldwide membership of the gang.
Let me go back on this.
We're
just going to start this over. I'm going to stop getting distracted by dummies today. I'm going to start this over, and I'm going to make it through this whole thing and stay on topic.
Mr. Bottoms, you have claimed without offering evidence that there are 45,000 to 50,000 Tren de Aragua gang members in Colorado, mostly in rural areas, which is odd because that's 10 to 20 times the worldwide membership of the gang, according to the U.S. government. You also say that sheriffs in Colorado are preparing to deputize people who have special forces experience to go and fight this foreign army. I reached out to every single sheriff in Colorado. Not one said you're telling the truth. A couple of them laughed you right out of the room. Do you stand by your claim, and will you finally present your evidence tonight?
Yeah, this is the first half of your question. The 45,000. So I actually went back because I was told that by 2 ICE agents. So I went back and I talked to federal authorities, actually this week, federal officers. And they said I got that wrong. That what they said was actually happening is 45,000 Venezuelans came directly to Denver and then applied for asylum. And they said there's probably 60 or 70,000 Venezuelans, not cartel, but just Venezuelans. And
You mean Tren de Aragua, which isn't cartel. So his claim was wrong, right? He doesn't want to admit that. It doesn't want to admit that, but it's just people seeking asylum. And this just goes to show like how easy it is to lie to the GOP. He doesn't care that they're not Tren de Aragua. He just thinks all of them are Tren de Aragua. That's what happened. He heard the total number of people coming from Venezuela seeking asylum and said they were Tren de Aragua. There's not 45,000 Tren de Aragua members worldwide.
I said, okay, so I'm going to have to go on Kyle Clark's show and say that differently. And they said, but we do know there's a few thousand cartel in the state of Colorado. I got that one wrong. I misunderstood what the ICE agent was saying, so I checked it on this week. Now, going to all the 65 sheriffs in all the counties, I've talked to a couple that said you never called them. You want me to give you some names?
Yeah.
We emailed every...
Okay, so there were 60 sheriffs. They talked to all of them, and he's going to explain this. But the claim is, just to go back, that not one single sheriff confirmed his story that they were like ready to go, that they were ready to get on board, that these numbers of Tren de Aragua were real, and that they were ready to like go to war. Not one of them confirmed it. And that's what Kyle Clark said. He said, we reached out to all of them. Not one of them confirmed it. And then he's going to explain here.
Sheriffs in all the counties, I've talked to a couple that said you never called them. You want me to give you some names?
We emailed every single sheriff's office multiple times. We heard back from 40 of the more than 60 sheriffs, and the sheriffs that we heard back from did not support your claims. The one sheriff that you name-checked in your lengthy response to us, Teller County Sheriff Jason Meixel, who was a previous candidate for governor, said you're confused about things you see on the news, which I believe you just confirmed when you said you couldn't tell the difference between the 45,000 Venezuelans who came to Colorado and 45,000 Tren de Aragua gang members, which do not exist in the whole wide world.
So I'm right about the fact that not all 65 told you that.
Absolutely. What I said was that 15. We could...
Which, of course, wasn't the claim that all 65 told him that.
Absolutely. What I said was that
15 didn't.
What I said was that we couldn't find one who says you're telling the truth.
That's a funny way to spin that.
Would you like to name the ones who support your claim?
I don't have to now. You just did. 15.
No.
The 15 who said nothing actually are confirming. I can't give you any names. They're confirming.
Those are 15 that didn't respond, sir. That's not how math and logic work.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, because it just gets crazier. Like he's obviously lying, right? Is there anybody here that thinks he was telling the truth that Kyle Clark was wrong? By the way, we love Kyle Clark here. Then he goes on to Victor Marks. Victor Marks is the guy that keeps lying about how many people he's rescued. He also claims he's like killed multiple people. None of it. He can't back up a single one of his claims. So you just have two lying grifters, and that's 1 and 2. The guy in the middle is Victor Marx. He's the leading candidate for the GOP. The guy to his right is in second, and I can't remember the other person's name on his left. She's in a distant third. She seems to be the only one, by the way, that has any sense at all, and so naturally she's not going to do well in the GOP.
You claim that you've been all around the world armed to the teeth rescuing women.
Oh, sorry. Amy Lindsay said, and who signed on January 19th of 2021 to allow Venezuelans? That would be Donald Trump. Signed an executive order, I think the day or 2 days before he left office, basically confirming that his actions in Venezuela caused massive disruption, and that the people coming here from Venezuela should not be returned to Venezuela, that they should be allowed into our country, and they should be given temporary protected status. That was an executive order by Donald Trump on January 19th of 2021. You can look that up yourself.
Children from captivity, that you've stopped human smugglers at the Mexico border and made them pay a price, that you as a civilian called in a U.S. military airstrike that killed 70 ISIS fighters.
You know how crazy that is? He claims that he called in an airstrike somehow as a civilian, that he was able to call in the military and be like, hey, come take out ISIS, and they did it. And he is the leading candidate for governor, despite saying that all the time. He lies about everything, and that's the guy that Coloradans are like, yep. You know why he's the leading candidate? Because he gets endorsed by other Republicans. You know why they endorse him? Because the best thing you can be as a Republican is a chronic liar. If you lie about everything, it's impossible. It's impossible for people to nail you down because you just lie about everything, and Republicans don't care. So as long as they don't have to publicly acknowledge that you're a chronic liar, they'll just vote for you anyways, because literally anything in their mind is better than a Democrat. Amy also said 70% of those on public assistance work full-time. Who do they work for? Not the government. Companies are the ones ripping us off. That's a great point, Amy.
That you were the first American into Gaza during the war with Israel, that you've done 150 high-risk missions and every one has been a success. You told me last week that it's all true and that you don't need to prove it to anyone. But you're talking to voters now. How should voters decide whether you've lived one of the most
sorry, what'd you say? This sucks. I was going to retire in Colorado. Not now. These are the GOP candidates. They're not going to win.
Extraordinary lives in human history, or whether you're a liar and a fraud?
Can we back up to her for 1 second?
Please answer the question, sir.
I will.
Can we talk about something else, please? I just want to get back there to the end of that question.
One of the most extraordinary lives in human history, or whether you're a liar and a fraud?
Can we back up to her for 1 second?
Please answer the question, sir.
I will. But this, I'll make a little informal complaint.
Oh.
The folks at home...
Brother, this is not HR. Can you answer the question? What are you doing?
Don't want to hear about her past and what she did. That's not going to make a lick of difference to those who are having trouble putting food on the table, Kyle, paying their electricity bill, having to try to figure out how they send their...
He's trying to defend her. Nobody cares about her past. They just want to worry about the future. Look, oh, see? Oh, me? Oh, you want to know about me? Oh, well, I hold the same standard for me as her. Obviously, nobody wants to hear about our past. The things I lied about 1 minute ago. Let's not talk about that. Can we just focus on the future and not the fact that my entire existence is a fucking lie?
Kids at school.
Sir, how much of your time do you plan to burn before you answer the question of whether you tell the truth?
Do I tell the truth?
How should voters discern whether you...
You can't even hear the question. It's fucking unreal. Why do you guys choose dumb liars? How's this the top of the GOP in Colorado? How did that happen?
Voters discern whether you have had one of the most extraordinary lives in human history, or whether you are a liar and a fraud?
Well, simply go back. I have 20 years of videos and documentation and people. We just had our head of security in Iraq call in a video today. The proof is just in people and what we document. I can't...
He called in a video? What is going on here? Allo, great. Thanks for being here. Allo, can you tell me one lie that somebody running for governor as a Democrat has told? And we'll see if we can agree there. So anybody who's currently running for governor in any state that's a Democrat, Can you tell me the lie that they told in this case, for example, about who you are? So his lie was that he, as a civilian, called in a military strike against ISIS. Just go ahead and give me an example, and maybe we can agree. Nobody's saying that the Democrats never lie, but it's a weird response from you. And this is why I think it comes off culty. Like, why aren't you just responding to this? Why are you worried about Democrats right now? Why aren't you just pointing out, like, why does it not embarrass you that this is the best the GOP has to offer in Colorado? If you're a Republican, aren't you embarrassed by this? Don't you think that we deserve better than this? Don't you think that you deserve better than this?
I can't help it if I've had an extraordinary life. I'm an ordinary fella. And starting from my childhood all the way to now, me standing up on a stage running for governor.
Get rid of Jerry Garcia. Jerry, you're done for the day. 24 hours for Jerry Garcia. I'm done with Jerry Garcia today.
Reagan, I said I was going to talk about you. Come, seats. This little dog, she's going to go bite you right now, Kyle. She was in Syria and Iraq. So is she lying too?
Well, the dog.
I can't. What are we doing? What are we doing? Are you calling my dog a liar? This dog's been in Syria and Iraq. You calling my dog a liar on this stage? He'll bite you. Can we just go back?
Running for governor, Reagan. I said I was going to talk about you. Come, seats. This little dog, she's going to go bite you right now, Kyle. She was in Syria and Iraq. So is she lying too?
Well, the dog's not running for governor. You're running for governor.
I also can't talk. It's Lord. There's just no fucking way you're looking at this and you're like, we're a serious party. We're serious about this. This guy, I don't know if he's drunk or if he's this crazy. What is going on with your party, guys? You got Spencer Pratt out there in LA, like racking up votes. Why? Why is this your party now? Shane said, remind MAGA that Trump allowed 274,000 Venezuelan refugees on his last day in office, specifically sending 65,000 to Colorado. Never gets mentioned. Why? Because that was the open border claim. This guy, Fox, says, unfortunately, Kyle Clark's network is getting bought in the Nexstar merger, so he will probably get fired. Hopefully, he'll jump to national news. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're doing. They're just buying up everything so that real journalists can't be journalists anymore. Spencer Pratt's not running as a Republican. Sure, yeah, he put an independent next to his name. Yeah, for sure. He's totally not a Republican, though. You're right. He's not running as a Republican. He's a Republican, though. Who do you think's voting for him? His numbers are going to look exactly like every Republican that runs.
Governor, and you spent precious little time answering the question other than to say that folks have to take the word of you and your staff for your accomplishments.
And your dog.
I said
Mr. Bottoms, a question
people,
for you as we approach closings here.
All right. Then
you claim that you've been
one more question here for Scott Bottoms, which is, this is kind of like the Dave Rubin thing. And this is I wanted to show this because the GOP cannot win elections without Nazis and white nationalists. Not to say that all of you are Nazis and white nationalists, but you have Nazis and white nationalists in your party, and you need them to win elections. So you have to kind of cater to Nazis and white nationalists. And here's proof of that.
Mr. Bottoms, while we are on the topic of religion and politics, you said that you are deeply honored to have the endorsement of your good friend Joe Oltmann, the MAGA podcaster who has called for the execution by hanging of Colorado's governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, who he calls synagogue of Satan Jews.
What's Graham Plattner? Not a Nazi. Do you have any evidence that he's a Nazi? Oh, there's a tattoo that's Nazi adjacent. But then you have to say that Pete Hegseth's a Nazi. So we don't really want to go down this route, right? But the people who call themselves Nazis, people that call themselves white nationalists, are in your party. Name another white nationalist or another Nazi that like it says that they're not, and then all of their viewpoints don't align with white nationalists. Even if Graham Plattner was a white nationalist, let's just say that he is a Nazi, which is possible. Okay, I'll grant you that. It is entirely possible that Graham Plattner is faking his entire candidacy and is a closeted Nazi. That's possible. but it's closeted, right? Because if he was an open Nazi, if he was talking about Nazi rhetoric and white nationalism, he wouldn't be winning in Maine. He wouldn't have won the DNC nomination. So even if he is what you say he is, the people that are voting for him because they believe that he's not that. And I'll be the first to admit if he's a Nazi, but nobody will support him. There won't be Democrats that support him. The difference is when Republicans come out as white nationalists or Nazis, it doesn't hurt them at all. None of you turn on them. This is just bullshit. This is your way of deflecting from the fact that your party is full of white nationalists and Nazis. So you use Graham Plattner to deflect from this, but let's go back to the start of this. You guys disown him then. You disavow this. You say this is wrong, and then we'll listen to what you have to say about Graham Plattner.
Mr. Bottoms, while we are on the topic of religion and politics, you said that you are deeply honored to have the endorsement of your good friend Joe Oltmann, the MAGA podcaster who has called for the execution by hanging of Colorado's governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, who he calls synagogue of Satan Jews. You said that Mr. Oltmann would have made a great governor himself, and you endorsed his failed run to become the Colorado Republican Party chairman. Do you also believe that Colorado's governor, attorney general, and secretary of state should be arrested, tried, and hanged? And do you also believe that they are synagogue of Satan Jews?
Joe Oltmann and I disagree very strongly on the nation of Israel, very, very strongly. This is our biggest dividing point. We've gone around and around about it. I'd
like to point out one more time, they don't. These guys don't know anything about, like, they don't know the difference between the state of Israel and Jews. Joe Oltmann is a anti-Semite. He hates Jews. Doesn't matter what country they're from. He hates Jews, American Jews, German Jews, Spanish Jews, Jews from Israel. He hates Jews, all of them. This isn't a divide. So this is a weird thing that he just said here. Like, we disagree on the state of Israel. Now, Oltmann hates Israel, but hates Israel because he hates Jews. This is a problem that some of us have. We have to delineate this. Like, there are times you can watch this show and then you could go and you could flip to Nick Fuentes and we might be talking about the same thing. We might be talking about the corruption of the state of Israel. Now, there's no anti-Semitism behind my criticism of the state of Israel, but there is anti-Semitism behind Nick Fuentes' criticism of the state of Israel. We can make the same point. We can both be right, but I don't hate Jews and he does. Sam Oltmann here hates Jews. He says they have a disagreement on the state of Israel. I don't know why everybody running for office is a fucking idiot in the GOP. I don't know why you guys can't find anybody who can, like, delineate between Jewish people and the state of Israel, but seemingly nobody in your party knows the difference between Jewish people and the state of Israel. It seems like nobody can figure that shit out, despite the fact that American Jews vote overwhelmingly against the state of Israel. They don't like AIPAC. They don't like the state of Israel. That is the position, the majority position from American Jews. And yet somehow your party can't figure that out. And the reason is because the anti-Semitic ones and the Zionists all are part of your party. The fascist American Jews, the ones that support fascism and support the ethno-supremacy of the Jewish people, are Republicans. And the people that don't support, generally, now there are some Democrats that do this, and there's some Democrats in Congress that's like Chuck Schumer, who supports the ethno-supremacy of the Jewish people. It's not exclusive, but, like, I'm just talking about the voting bloc. The voting bloc in general, those who support the ethno-supremacy of the Jewish people are overwhelmingly Republican, and those that do not support the ethno-supremacy of the Jewish people are overwhelmingly Democrat. That's just how it breaks down. But seemingly nobody in your party can figure that out, and I don't know why.
This is our biggest dividing point. We've gone around and around about it. I don't have a problem with the Jewish people at all. I also do know that there are indictments coming down pretty soon for Secretary of State Griswold and Attorney General Weiser.
So just to clarify what you're saying, you believe that you have insider information that there will be a federal sedition indictment against Colorado's Secretary of State and Attorney General, sedition being a charge punishable by death. I just want to clarify, that's what you're saying?
Yes, treason.
No, of course that's not going to happen. You think they're going to get? They're not going to indict anybody on treason. When was the last time somebody in this country was indicted on treason? What do you say? You're a moron if you think that the Jews support ethno-supremacy in the Middle East. There is a single Jewish country, and it's not even solely Jewish in the Middle East. George, if you believe this is pretty silly. If you believe that Jewish people in the Middle East have a birthright, an ethnic attachment to that land, and that they are owed that land by birthright, by definition, that is ethno-supremacy. The idea that Jewish people have a land dedicated to Jewish people by birthright is by definition ethno-supremacy. That is what Zionism is. Zionism is ethno-supremacy. That should not be hard to figure out. That just definitionally, that's what it is.
Indictments are probably going to come down around mid-summer. There's also 4 other investigations.
Do you share your good friend Joe Oltman's view that they should be tried and, if convicted, executed?
Last treason was 2005 or 2006. Who was that? Was that Snowden? Even charged with treason? Tomoya Kawakita, that was in 1952. Oh, that was convicted of treason. I don't even think Snowden was charged with treason, right? The last person in the United States to get convicted of treason is Adam Gadhan, who was indicted by a federal grand jury in 2006. Is that true? This is coming from Facebook. Azam al-Amariki was then killed in a drone strike. Okay. Yeah. But they're going to get a treason charge for what? For election interference? They haven't even proved that the election was stolen, but they're going to get treason charges. Got it. Guys, your whole party's full of fucking lunatics. The leadership of your party is lunatics. You should demand better. I understand you're not going to vote for Democrats, whatever. That's fine. But you deserve, you should demand better. I don't know if you deserve better than this, but you should demand more than this.
No, I'm not against the death penalty. I'm strongly in favor of the death penalty. But from the things that I've seen in the conversations I have, I don't think that it warrants that level.
And a last question on this. If you're elected governor, would Mr. Oltman have a role in your administration?
Richie Torres also a Zionist. Yep, good point. I think you could probably make a strong case that Cory Booker, Dan Goldman.
Assuming it's not around Jewish people, probably.
I think some folks are going to find that funnier than others.
Yeah. You're not going to ask for better at some point? All right, let's get into these congressional hearings today. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded. I appreciate you all. Update the gift goal here in a minute. But we do rely on your generosity. For those of you who ask who pays us every single day, you can actually watch who pays us every day. We're entirely crowdfunded. We take Super Chats, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. The 3 payment apps take the least amount from us, so we prefer those. But if you'd rather do Super Chats, that's fine. And then TikTok, if you're here. Oh, we're still here. TikTok. We lose a lot of viewership on the other platforms when we have TikTok up and running, and unlike YouTube, TikTok doesn't pay us ad revenue. So if you're watching on TikTok and you have the ability to send gifts, we would greatly appreciate that. That helps us keep things going. This is Todd Blanche, and I'm going to show some clips from Todd Blanche, Markwayne Mullin, Scott Bessent, and Marco Rubio today. And the through line here is the unabashed you don't get any answers from us mentality from this administration. I don't know how we've become a country where we celebrate people, members of the executive branch showing up in front of Congress who has oversight, refusing to answer questions, evading questions, or attacking back. I understand that you like Trump. I understand that we are a very politically divided country. But the one thing I will say about Marco Rubio, who I don't like very much, is that he does answer questions. Marco Rubio seems to be the one person in this administration that doesn't show up with a list of comebacks and refuses to answer questions. If the Trump administration all acted like Marco Rubio in these hearings, we could have like a political debate. We could talk about policy and we could argue policy. What my problem is with everybody in this administration is they seemingly come to Congress who has oversight and they're asking Congress for money and then they say, fuck you, we don't have to answer your questions. And I just don't understand why you accept that. Do any of you want to explain to us why you accept that they don't answer questions? Because they're not answering questions for you either. Why in the world would we be celebrating or be happy about the executive branch refusing oversight? That's why we have 3 co-equal branches of government. That was the whole point. So we didn't fall back into a monarchy or an oligarchy. The idea of freedom in this country through a representative republic, so we don't get somebody upset about democracy, is that there would be 3 branches of government who could act as checks of power against each other, and that we would act in the spirit of the Constitution where we would have to compromise. Before anything, our country was meant to be, it was supposed to be difficult to pass laws, and laws were meant to all be compromises. You're never going to get a law that appeases everybody, so you should compromise. We were warned against a 2-party system, and yet here we are. And who benefits the most from a 2-party system? It's not the people in government. It's the people who pay the people in government. It's the people who get the policies implemented for them to stay wealthy. It's the wealthy that caused this 2-party system. I wouldn't point at the people in Congress for this. It's the wealthy, and it is our refusal as citizens to hold our own parties responsible. Now, in the spirit of bipartisanship, I hope that the MAGA people here today recognize that we have no problem criticizing Democrats whatsoever. We don't focus on it very much because they can't do anything, because they're not in power. There's not a lot to focus on. However, I just got done shitting on Chuck Schumer. I just accused Chuck Schumer of being exactly what I accused those people running for governor in Colorado of being: a Zionist, an ethno-supremacist, somebody who should be removed from office, somebody who doesn't have the qualifications to be there, somebody who is deeply, deeply corrupt. I took the 2 most powerful people in the Democratic Party right now, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. I believe both are corrupt. I believe both of them Hakeem Jeffries, I think a little bit differently, but at the very least, they are supportive of ethno-supremacy or ethno-supremacist groups. I believe that they are both corrupt. I don't think that they are doing the will of the people. I don't think they're doing the will of their own party. In fact, they seem to be subverting the will of their own party at every turn and telling Democrats, shut the fuck up. We know what's best. Our corporate overlords are telling us what to do. So in the spirit of bipartisanship, I would say that this is not a Republican or Democrat thing. It happens on both sides. So in that spirit, could we talk about what's actually said here today? Could we engage honestly about whether or not Todd Blanche is answering any of these questions? And if he is answering them, is he answering them honestly? And if he's not answering them or not answering them honestly, how the fuck do you expect us ever to get out of the rich and powerful owning everything that we do and dictating every move if we refuse to criticize the people that we voted for? In this case, any criticism of these people should be a criticism of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump leads the executive branch, and he should demand that the people that work for him go to Congress and are transparent and give honest answers, and they're not doing that. So I ask that of the chat. I'll give you, like, it would be cool if once in a while some of you were like, hey, let's act in good faith, and let's just, instead of making fun of hair and saying Democrat versus Republican, I want you to listen to the question, because everybody asking a question is doing what they are constitutionally obligated to do, and the person answering the question is constitutionally obligated to answer that question. So let's just determine which of them is doing their job and which of them isn't, and let's call balls and strikes for the rest of the day. How about that? Can we do that? No? Probably not.
No, the only thing you're talking about here, so the blanket immunity is not something that you're going to move back on?
It's not blanket immunity.
Okay. In the IRS, in the settlement with the 1.8 billion, out of nowhere, there's this blanket immunity deal for Donald Trump. And when Todd Blanche, who says it's not blanket immunity, he's going to have an opportunity to explain this. He says it's not blanket immunity. It is absolutely blanket immunity. But why in the world would our government give blanket immunity to Trump his businesses, and his family. Is there any reason why we should say that the president of the United States has blanket immunity for tax crimes? That we're never allowed to investigate him? Republicans, do you have an answer to that? Why we shouldn't be allowed to investigate Donald Trump and his family for tax crimes? You disagree with Jeffries being corrupt, afraid of change? Yes. I think he's corrupt. I think that he does that. When I say corrupt with Jeffries, he puts the interest of corporations over the interest of his voting base. I think that that is, by definition, corruption. It's definitely corrupting the system that we're supposed to have. No? Okay. No, you have an answer for that? All right, let's go back to this.
Is not something that you're going to move back on?
It's not blanket immunity. That's not true.
It is.
No, it's not.
Read it.
All right, you tell me why this isn't blanket immunity then. We're going to read it.
Okay. United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of actions, appeals, requests for any reliefs. I mean,
any and all claims. They are immune from charges for any and all claims. How is that not blanket immunity? Is there anybody here? Can you put your hand up if you don't believe this is blanket immunity? And can we get an explanation for this, please? Shane says 8811 is the biggest dog whistle. Yes, Adam. It literally is that is definitionally blanket immunity.
This is an order from you, but you're not prepared. You are prepared to say that the president and his family will be barred, are immune from. That's a yes.
No, it was not a yes. I had not answered the question. I can't answer if you want me to.
What are you doing with this?
Okay, so
is that not blanket immunity? We'll get to his. He does have a longer answer later, so I'm not cutting him off there. It gets redundant, so he'll have an answer here later. Here he is with Representative Dean now.
I want to speak
and this
about
this is actually pretty gross. So she's supposed to have 5 minutes. For whatever reason, the chairman, which I can't remember who the chairman is, cuts her off after 2 minutes and just decides you can't talk anymore. And I think it's because the Republicans are also covering for Todd Blanche, who's covering for Donald Trump, who is covering up the Epstein files. They're all complicit. They're all in on this.
For the Epstein victims and survivors. And I'm going to begin with the closing word.
112. Okay, drop it, dude. I just said that there are Democrats and Republicans that are owned by Israel. We agree with that. There are people within Congress who are not owned by Israel. It's not a majority of them for sure. There are more Democrats who are likely to be opposed to Israel than Republicans, and that is relatively new. But there are some Republicans who don't take AIPAC money. There are some Democrats who don't take AIPAC money. There's far more Democrats that don't take AIPAC money than Republicans. So let's just be honest. Can you drop that now? The both sides shit is stupid. No, they're not all owned. Some of them are. A lot of them are, but they're not all owned. And your both sides fence sitting shit is dumb. Can I get you on subject now, though? Now that I've addressed that, you've said it like 20 times. Can you talk about this now? Otherwise, we got to mute you. I'm tired of people like distracting. I want to have a real conversation with you guys. Same side of the coin, but you're just anti-Semitic. All right, ban 112 food. Cool.
Words of Virginia Roberts Giuffre in her book. It's literally the last paragraph. She writes, I hope for a world in which predators are punished, not protected. Victims are treated with compassion, not shamed. And powerful people face the same consequences as anyone else. I yearn, too, for a world in which the perpetrators face more shame than their victims do, and where anyone who's been trafficked can confront their abusers when they are ready, no matter how much time has passed. We don't live in this world yet. I mean, seriously. Where are those videotapes the FBI confiscated from Epstein's houses? And why haven't they led to prosecution of any more abusers?
That's what she wrote before she died. I think there's some people that don't believe she took her own life. Well, I don't have an opinion on that. It was basically the last thing she said before she died is like, are we ever going to get any sort of justice? Is it always going to be the victims who are smeared, or are these powerful people at some point going to get justice? Or receive justice, I guess. It's powerful stuff. This is the man who is covering up the Epstein files. Pam Bondi threw him under the bus. Pam Bondi said it was him. He's Trump's personal lawyer. He was brought in after being paid $10 million by Donald Trump. His job is to do Trump's bidding. Donald Trump, Todd Blanche, covering up the Epstein files. They're hiding the names of powerful men who abused women.
That's from Virginia. It was printed, as you know, posthumously after her death.
Thanks, Jen.
Mr. Blanche, you and I had a chance a couple of weeks ago at the Department of Justice to speak about these cases. We discussed three things in connection with this monstrous, decades-long crime spree.
Now, before she goes over the three things, the reason she's prefacing this is because Todd Blanche, and he gets accused of this many times. Obviously, it's impossible for us to know, but multiple people accused him of giving them different answers behind closed doors and in public session. And that's where the frustration happens here, is that Todd Blanche is telling them different things behind closed doors, and then when he comes out in public, he pretends that he didn't say that.
Number one, your failure to fully redact survivor information. Number two, your failure to follow the law and release the remaining files. And number three, your refusal to prosecute anybody else. Mr. Blanche, let's continue that inane conversation, but this time it's public. This time, and more importantly, it's under oath. You're speaking to Congress. So let's get into it. When will you
thank you, Lily. Appreciate that.
comply with the law and release all
and thanks, Alter Ego, for the gift of memberships. Appreciate that, my friend.
files?
As I said to you when we spoke before, we have complied with the law. We have reviewed.
There are 3 million more documents, and you know what you said to me? They're all duplicative, and they include another guy named Epstein.
No, I didn't
Nobody's
say
buying.
that.
That's
I did
what
not
you said.
say that.
That's what you said.
So look,
reclaiming my
can
time.
I answer? Can I
No,
answer the question?
You may not. I
Okay.
just gave you the answer you gave me.
Telling.
No, actually, it's my time, Mr. Chairman. I think those are the rules of this committee.
You can see here,
Told him the answer
there's 2 minutes and 47 seconds left here.
he gave me, and now in public he's trying to say something else. Please stop the clock. Can I get that time back? May I have 20 seconds back, Mr. Chairman? Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Obviously didn't give the time back.
Mr. Blanche.
You don't want me to answer the question.
Mr. Blanche, as you know, I visited DOJ 3 times for as much as 10 hours, and I'll be going back. Does the Epstein File Transparency Act say that the file should be available to members of Congress with a minder at DOJ, where you're in a secure room, you can't write on...
Why let him talk, oh my? Why let him talk? If he's going to give different answers publicly than privately, why let him talk? Why is your criticism, you're here every fucking day, how is your criticism against her and not the person covering up the Epstein files? This is the guy who gave Ghislaine Maxwell a sweetheart deal, moved her to a new place, won't tell us why. This is the guy that won't show you all the Epstein files. This is the guy that won't investigate anybody. This is the guy that covered up Trump's name. This is the guy that released the names of victims. I don't understand you. You're here every day. I do not understand how it is that your criticism always is to the left. Why would you allow a person to lie if they are going to give you a different answer publicly and privately? Please explain that to me. Please explain to me, Republicans, what the fuck you're watching. How in God's name are you now the people who are like, just let the people covering it up explain it away? There's 3 million fucking documents that are unreleased. They won't release them. They are legally required to release them, and they're telling you and us to fuck off. And you're like, I can't believe the Dems won't let them get a sentence out. I don't understand your outrage. Like, what the fuck is wrong with your brains? That your outrage is for the people who have oversight and not the person covering it up? You're here every fucking day, and every fucking day, oh my, You are bootlicking for billionaires who were stealing, Republicans who won't answer questions, and the people covering up for the Epstein files. Does it ever get tiresome being on the side of like real life supervillains? Are you that indoctrinated? Like I know sometimes we find a middle ground. The reason I'm pointing you out is because like, holy fucking shit, this is an easy one. This is a really, really easy one. Usually you can find common ground on stuff like this. This is crazy. Pam Bondi is telling you he's covering it up. We know for a fact he's covering it up. We know for a fact he is the one who got Ghislaine Maxwell transferred. We know for a fact that during Pam Bondi's deposition, he intervened multiple times to tell her not to answer questions. And your outrage isn't towards him. You have a bias. You have a very clear fucking bias here. You should recognize that.
Any of the binders, you can take your own notes. Is that what the Transparency Act says?
It doesn't require we allow you to come to DOJ at all. We did that on our own.
What does it say in terms of transparency? It says that they should be made publicly available.
And they
Am
were.
Am I correct?
And
Publicly available.
If they're publicly available, then how come it requires a member of Congress to go to the DOJ and view them and can't take anything back with them? If they're publicly available, then why does it require a SCIF? They're clearly not publicly available, right?
They were.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Thanks, Rodney.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
I beg your pardon.
There's a minute 48 right there. You can see the clock.
And I'd actually like to get 20 seconds back. How do I get cut off 2 minutes into this? 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
I beg your pardon, Mr.
They're just going to straight up do the cover up right in front of you.
Chairman. What rules are we operating under? Because he's under a little bit of heat for not prosecuting anyone in these monstrous crimes? I've been in the room. I have been there. This is what I had to do, to transcribe, to show what is true. What is true is that the president has lied about being on Epstein's plane, and the unredacted files prove that. There's a lot in here. I am shocked at this. There's also this set of files in the file. This is investigation into the potential co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. I almost used up all the blank ink in the hallway because it's all covered up. It's all covered up. The American people are not stupid. They know that when members of Congress have to go in and actually unredact to try to find the truth for these victims, something is corrupt. Something is corrosive.
You don't understand why matters like this are not being handled by a nonpartisan group tied to no one and release the files without names of the victims. It's not that hard. Yeah. The reason it's not being done that way, the reason that it was not given to a special prosecutor, which you would expect, is because they're covering it up. That's standard operating procedure that you would give this to a special prosecutor. But they're not. They're giving it to Trump's personal attorney. And the Republicans are covering it up. They're bringing people in like Pam Bondi and not putting her under oath and not allowing us to watch it. I don't think we have the transcript yet. I could be wrong about that. Yeah. When they investigated the Russian collusion, was it Congress? No. Special prosecutor. When they investigated Joe Biden or the Biden crime family, they brought in Robert Hur. And he sat down with Joe Biden for like 10 hours. When they investigated Bill Clinton, it was Ken Starr. Why? Why in the biggest corruption scandal in the history of our country, why is it that the Republicans have not chosen a special independent prosecutor? Why is the prosecutor Trump's personal attorney? If it's not corrupt Republicans, do you want to give me an answer? This is the time when Republicans that are real chatty get quiet. Why not? You all know they're covering it up. I don't get why you won't admit that to yourselves. You all know that they're covering this up. This is the most obvious cover up in history. Everybody knows it. There's barely anybody who comments on politics that is unwilling to say that this is a cover up. Right to left, this isn't even a partisan issue. The only thing is that there are enough people on the right still deathly afraid of Donald Trump and losing the support of MAGA that they won't talk about it.
Paid $10 million to represent the president. You hang a 30-foot banner of the president's menacing face over the entrance to the Department of Justice. You said that if you were terminated or not moved forward as Attorney General, you would say to the president, "I love you, sir." So I have one question for you. Is your obligation to the victims and survivors of Epstein's heinous crimes and all his perpetrators, or is your first obligation to the President of the United States?
So without a doubt, we want to bring justice to every victim.
When will you bring that justice?
Can I please finish?
Excuse me.
No, finish what? You already said. We just want to know when. This is the face of somebody who is covering for evil. When are we going to get, without a doubt? When are you going to start that? How many times is Trump's name redacted? Why is Trump's name ever redacted in the Epstein files? Does anybody want to explain that to me, MAGA? Can you explain to me why Donald Trump's name would ever be redacted? Why are there thousands of times that Donald Trump's name is redacted? Why was Donald Trump's why was it redacted that Donald Trump was flying on Epstein's plane? Why would they redact that? Again, it's not to say that there weren't prominent Democrats there. Bill Clinton flew on that plane. Reid Hoffman, which is one of the wealthiest donors to Democrats, obviously was up to some shit. Bill Gates there. Why is Trump's name redacted? Why is his flight records on Epstein's plane redacted? Anybody? No? I didn't think so.
Can I finish?
It's been decades. When will you
finish?
When will you bring the justice?
So as I was saying,
when will you prosecute? And who will you prosecute?
Please allow the witness to answer.
You told me.
Now, you tell me. The question is when, right? Is he going to answer that?
In our
So I'll
conversation,
tell
you
so
blamed the victims.
Every victim
Let the record
of Mr.
reflect,
Epstein.
He told me that the victims didn't give good names.
Let me be crystal clear.
Okay.
That this Department of Justice will always protect victims and will always prosecute anybody we can.
When?
Okay. Full stop. No ifs, ands, or buts, okay? What you are showing in a game of showmanship are redactions because of victims, because that prosecution memorandum talks about, excuse me?
Perpetrators, too.
How do you know that? Go ahead.
Because she can go in and she can see the redacted files. And now what Todd Blanche is doing is trying to get her to give out information on redacted files, which she's not allowed to do in a public setting here. That's why this That's why this tense exchange. He knows what she knows. He knows that those are perpetrators. He knows she can't say it. And she can't say it because this corrupt fucking administration has redacted it and labeled it so it can only be talked about in a skiff. That's why she can't name names right now. And he knows that. You think, let's go back real quick. You think this page, that this entire page of redaction is redacted because of a victim name? What is it? The victim's name written over and 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 over again? The victims' names were to be redacted, not their stories. What is this page? Does this page just say Virginia Guffrey over and over again? How do you have a whole fucking page blacked out if it's just the victims' names? You have to be dumb as a goddamn rock to believe Todd Blanche right now. It's pretty easy to see through what he's doing.
He talks about, excuse me?
Perpetrators, too.
How do you know that? Go ahead.
Talk to the
Exactly.
victims.
So
Talk to the victims.
they're victims' names, which we are required to redact, required by law to redact, which we did. Okay, so I take
Mr.
umbrage
Chairman,
to
I
the
realize
idea.
I'm over time. I thank you for that indulgence. I want to ask for unanimous consent to enter records into the onto the record. May I do that now?
Without objection.
Thank you. The
Time
first.
of the gentlelady has expired. Mr.
Now this gets bizarre. Now he just doesn't let her enter her. Right now, when you do this, when you enter records, it's outside of your time. You can do this at any time. This doesn't count as part of your time. If you've watched congressional hearings, you're allowed to do this at any time.
I would like to enter these records. May I please list what they are, sir?
You've had your chance. Mr. Alford.
You're denied.
The reason that they don't want her to enter these into the record is because there is a transcript here. And what she's about to read is a bunch of headlines and documents, and they don't want those headlines and documents to read in the transcript. So you've seen this. Jim Jordan does this sometimes. They do it when things aren't going well, and they don't want the transcript to have all of the evidence that she's going to provide on the questioning she just had for Todd Blanche. So they'll be in the record. You can go and find them, but you won't know what to search. So when they want to read these into the record, they want them read into the record so that when you're reading the transcript, you know what to search. Yeah, exactly. They're just controlling the record now to make it. Again, this is a cover up by the Republicans too. There's no reason why you can't read this in.
Giving me the chance to list what these records are.
Mr. Alford.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Attorney General, would you like to respond to any of these allegations?
Well, look, I think that the idea that this Department of Justice does not stand up to victims and does not do everything we can, stand up for victims rather, do everything we can to prosecute anybody who harms our most vulnerable, ignores the facts.
The only thing they've done in regards to the victims and the perpetrators of the Epstein case is giving Ghislaine Maxwell a cushier place to rest her feet, giving her access to puppies, television, an iPad. She can communicate on the outside. Literally, the only action that they have taken is making sure Ghislaine Maxwell is more comfortable. That's it. There has been no action taken for any of these victims. They took a perpetrator, a convicted perpetrator, to a nicer prison. Somebody who was accused of grooming and facilitating and participating in the sexual abuse of children. And the only thing Todd Blanche has done regarding the victims or the perpetrators is take care of a convicted perpetrator. That's it. There's no other argument here other than they're covering it up.
We will always protect victims. We have said from the beginning, anybody, whether it's their lawyer, whether it's a victim.
Okay, sorry. The Tom Cole is the chairman here. I didn't know that. I didn't even recognize him. He's a Republican from Oklahoma.
Wants to meet with the FBI or who has information, they don't have to come in. They can use their lawyers. They can use nonprofit groups. I've spoken to nonprofit groups. My leadership team has spoken to nonprofit groups and victims. When we released the Epstein files earlier this year, I spent the whole weekend on the phone with many of Epstein's victims' lawyers, and Director Patel has said the same thing. And so I will say again, if there is a lawyer or a victim who has information.
That's a good question. Somebody said, why do survivors have to reach out to you? It's also the testimony of the survivors that they have reached out. If you remember in Pam Bondi's hearing, all of the survivors were standing there and they said, how many of you have reached out? All of them raised their hands. How many of you been contacted? 0 of them have been contacted. So even this part's a lie. They haven't been contacted. This is a lie. They're not getting contacted even when they reach out. Amy says the DOJ revitalized victims. Or I think that was probably supposed to say re-victimized victims. I hope the victims sue The ones who wanted to remain anonymous were outed by our DOJ. Their perpetrators' names were redacted. Yeah.
Come forward. And it doesn't mean coming forward to a congressman's office. It means coming forward to the FBI. And if there's nervousness or if there's something that it's a difficult thing to do, we will work with you. That's what we do. That's what the FBI does. And that's what we've said for months and months, and it remains as true today as it was the first time we said.
I had no intention of asking about
And by, of
Epstein,
course, as true as it was then, he means the lying.
but there were 3 allegations made of failure to fully redact victims' names. Have you done that?
So we were required by law to redact victims' names. We did not get to choose victims. So what the judge told us in New York was if somebody identified themselves as a victim, we had to redact that. And
Okay, this is the trick. Donald Trump and other perpetrators are identifying themselves as victims. They're victims of being caught up in Epstein's snare. That's why they're redacting these names. He's telling you exactly what this is his way of being on the record. I would imagine, I don't know if I would assume Alford set this up, but this is how they're trying to get out of it now. They're trying to say, well, the court said you have to redact victims' names, and so anybody who claims they're a victim, we get to redact their name.
we did not get to choose victims. So what the judge told us in New York was if somebody identified themselves as a victim, we had to redact that. And that's what we did. And
Has there been a failure to prosecute perpetrators?
Never. And if we learn of
for real? Who'd you prosecute?
Of a bad guy that we can prosecute today, we will prosecute him today.
Has there been a failure to release all the files?
No. So we reviewed more than enough. We over-collected on purpose to make sure we could comply with the law. And so necessarily by over-collecting, some of the materials we collected were not responsive. They had nothing to do with the Epstein.
And who makes that determination of what's not responsive? And where's the oversight? How do you get oversight on these not responsive documents? So the DOJ claims they have these 3 million files, they don't pertain. Says who? We know there's stuff in there. They've read some of that stuff. They've been forced to, every time they're forced to then release more files that they said was redundant or was not part of the investigation. Turns out it was. All right. Moving on outside of Epstein, but still with
Mr. Attorney General,
Todd Blanche. Again, I've never seen anything more corrupt than this in the history of our country. Todd Blanche and Donald Trump are pulling off the most corrupt year I've ever seen in my life. Literally giving blanket immunity so that he can't be charged for his crimes. Trying to give the president, originally trying to give him $10 billion, then trying to take a $1.8 billion and giving that to the people who attacked the Capitol on his behalf. They refused to investigate him for any of his financial dealings. I don't know. I dare you to tell me one thing more corrupt than this, something specific. But now talking about the anti-weaponization fund, here's their new trick. They're like, oh, we're not going forward with that anymore. And a lot of people are like, okay, cool, we'll just take your word for it. But they refuse to put that in writing, that they're never going to make that available.
I wanted to ask a few questions about the anti-weaponization fund. We know that the department has agreed to pause this effort until at least June 12th. I wanted to ask what your plans were for the fund after June 12th.
So thank you. So look, we're not moving forward with the fund. You're right that there's a date that in the case in the Eastern District of Virginia in June, but we are not moving forward with the fund. Period.
Putin poisoning his opponents more corrupt. I meant in this country, but yeah, I'm with you there.
The reasons for the
he has blanket immunity for his past actions. No, you've said this a bunch of times. It's specific on what he has blanket immunity for. Nobody's saying he has blanket immunity to commit crimes in the future. The blanket immunity is for, and even then, like if we read this, I don't even know if that's clear. Let's pull this up. I think we had it yesterday. Let's see what it says here. The settlement agreement in Trump v. IRS has created the anti-weaponization fund, yada, yada, yada. The United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of action, appeals or requests for any relief, including injunctive relief, monetary relief, damages, examinations, or similar or related reviews, appeals, debt relief, costs, attorney fees, expenses, and or interest, whether presently known or unknown, that as of the effective date of the settlement agreement have been or could have been asserted by defendants against any of the plaintiffs or related to affiliated individuals. So this is any crimes they committed before May 19th. And by the way, right now they're protected. You can't go after the president because he's the sitting president. So there's a moratorium on these charges. And we all know Donald Trump has committed a ton of financial crimes since he's been in office. And it's likely now that he's can just do tax crimes here as well. The statute of limitations is paused while he's president. And now they're saying from this date going backwards, he has blanket immunity. That's not corrupt. That's not corrupt, MAGA. Can you give me an example of another time where anybody was just given blanket immunity by their own personal lawyer? What crimes? Trump versus the IRS. Tax crimes, my friend. He's had. Do you know how many times Trump has cheated on his taxes and had to pay? He likely owes hundreds of millions of dollars in back taxes. Yeah, just blanket immunity. No, it's not corrupt. Totally normal.
Fund is something that President Trump talked about for a long time, which is the fact that there were a lot of people in this country who had their government weaponized against them. The reasons for the fund, I think, remain as important as they were before, but we are not moving forward with the fund.
Not moving forward ever.
Correct.
Oh, there's no more fund then.
Well, to the extent there was a fund, and remember the fund wasn't set up yet. There were no commissioners named. There was no claimants brought anything in front of. There was no claims made yet. So yes, we're not moving forward with the fund.
You and Associate Attorney General Woodward signed earlier documents regarding the settlement and this fund. Would both of you now sign and release documents reversing the DOJ's position on the fund?
We're not moving forward with the fund. I'm not sure what that means to sign documents reversing. There's nothing to reverse. We're not moving forward with the fund.
We know about the court case, the decision.
Why would you sign it? So if you sign a document saying there's a fund, why wouldn't you then sign a document saying we're not going forward with this fund, right? Then it seems open-ended. That's how laws work. You can't just be like, that law's done. No, it's still on the books. You have this agreement, you would sign something saying, oh, we're not doing that anymore. This seems like something they're going to do on their way out the door. That would be my guess.
When we've heard press reports, obviously.
Or after the midterms. Amy said, what's the male version of Fundy baby voice? Because that's what Todd Blanche is using. Go Spurs, go. Thank you.
But is there any way that you could put this in writing? I don't know if there are other ways that you could use another vehicle to move forward with a similar fund or similar intention. And we just want to reassure the American public. We've heard from both Republicans and Democrats, constituents and Americans across the country about this fund. And I think they would love to be reassured that this fund will not progress.
I'm telling you it's not. I guess I'm not sure. I'm not trying to be flippant with you. I'm just saying I'm telling you it's not. I'm not. There's we put out a statement yesterday. There's been an injunction, a temporary injunction filed in EDVA. There's litigation in DC. There's litigation in the Southern District of Florida. But notwithstanding what we do in those litigations and defending our rights and making sure our rights are protected, we're not moving forward with the fund.
Okay. Yeah, the statement I thought was just about until June 12th. So if it won't progress after June 12th, that's great to hear, and we hope to see this.
Yeah, just trust me. It works for MAGA. MAGA will just trust him.
I mean, I think there'll be a transcript of what I say here, so that will be in writing.
Okay, well, we will work with you and hold you to it. Thank you very much. Mr. Attorney General, I want to thank you for verbally committing to not moving forward with the so-called anti-weaponization fund. I just want to make sure, are you going to issue a new memo in?
All right, that's basically, they're just rehashing that there. Okay. So that apparently is still an option for them. They refuse, and I don't know why you guys just allow them to just be like, trust me, we'll do the right thing. I can't figure that out for the life of me. We have about an hour left. Just a reminder, we are crowdfunded with the remaining balance of the gift goal. I need to update here in a little bit, but if you guys want to help us knock that out by the end of the live, that would be greatly appreciated. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal are the way to go, as well as Super Chats and TikTok gifts. Just a reminder on TikTok, those of you that are here, we're happy to be on TikTok. TikTok pays us very little, and they mostly ban our lives. So if you're enjoying watching on TikTok and you have the ability to gift, that would be greatly appreciated. It also goes a long way of helping TikTok not ban us so often, because they want to make money and they take a large portion of those gifts. So that would go a long way to help as well. Okay, let's move. I think we're done with Todd Blanche now. Yes, let's go on to Markwayne Mullin. Now, Markwayne Mullin replaced the catastrophic failure of Kristi Noem. And while I think Markwayne Mullin might be less corrupt than Kristi Noem, he might be dumber than Kristi Noem, which makes him perfect to run any department in the federal government for the Trump administration. Here he is with Chris Murphy, specifically. Wait, let me make sure I've got the right one here. Is this the right one? Oh, yeah, about DHS refusing to comply with court orders. Now, in a functioning democracy with 3 co-equal branches of government, if the court orders you to do something, you should do it. That's how it works. And if you don't like the court's ruling, you appeal and you go to a higher court. And if the court reverses that, great. But this administration has done something that is pretty rare. It's not unheard of, but it's rare, where they are saying, fuck the courts. We don't care what any court says except for the Supreme Court. So if a court rules against us, we're going to fucking do it anyways. And we're going to do it until it gets up to the Supreme Court, which obviously is a crazy way to operate. It's obviously not the way that our system was designed to work, but like the Constitution always has been, it required people to act in good faith and to stick to established norms. And this administration does not give a fuck. They're like, we are going to test this Constitution at every turn. We are going to do illegal things all the fucking time. And the Supreme Court has slapped the Trump administration down like no less than a dozen, probably not a dozen, like probably half a dozen times. And then they stop. But that means up until the Supreme Court steps in, they're just doing illegal things all the time. And what are we going to do? If you don't have an administration that respects the Constitution, then we don't really have like any sort of semblance of democracy, or even in this case, a representative republic. We simply have a branch of government where half the people in that branch of government are trying desperately to regain their authority. The other half is saying, no, we gave that authority to that big bloviated blob up there, and we're just out of the way. We're on vacation. We're not gonna do a goddamn thing this entire administration. That's where we're at. We're not a functioning democracy. That's silly. We're not a functioning constitutional republic, whatever you guys want to say. We're effectively right now an oligarchy, and there's some Democrats in the way, and occasionally like 6 Republicans find a spine and they stand in the way. But that's where we're at right now.
Into the record, a lawsuit that was filed today by the New Jersey Department of Health, in which they are asking for access to Delaney Hall because they have in fact been denied access to the medical unit, the sleeping areas, and the bathing and toileting areas.
Now, there is no legal justification for members of Congress being barred from Delaney Hall. Nobody has the authority to keep Congress out of Delaney Hall. They have oversight. They're allowed oversight. The judges have ruled repeatedly that they have oversight, and this administration consistently says, fuck off. You don't. And then the courts are like, they do. And then this administration goes, nah, we've changed the rules now. Congress doesn't have oversight. It's not co-equal branches. The executive branch is the only branch that matters.
So it doesn't actually appear that the lack of violations is due to a finding that the conditions are sufficient, but that actually
I'd like to say is, Robert, you did not vote for this. You're lying. Trump never told you he was going to do this stuff. This stuff is all new. He didn't say, I'm going to ignore the courts. He, in fact, said law and order, and he said we follow the courts. So you're lying. you voted for Donald Trump. You voted to let Donald Trump do whatever he wanted. And yeah, that is democracy. Sure, that is a form of representative republic, but your representatives aren't doing anything, and they're giving away the function. So if what you're saying you voted for democratically was to undo the Constitution, then sure. But I need you to say that what you voted for was to rip up the Constitution and give all the power to the executive branch.
Being denied access. Does that change your assessment of whether you've done enough due diligence here? And maybe more importantly, and I understand you may want to look into this, but can you commit to us to making sure that the department has access to that?
Well, we give them access to the things we are contracted with them and required to do, which is the health, the food, the preparation, the facilities. They don't always have unfettered access to the detention center. If it's within their contract, we'll help them. But there is a difference between federal facilities, because they're not able to get to all federal facilities, and federal privatized systems too, where they are.
Just think about that for a second. Somehow, in this country, Congress has oversight for federal facilities, and the executive branch created a loophole where facilities owned and operated by private companies don't have to follow the law. And those private companies are making billions of dollars. And they're kicking back money to people like Tom Homan. Isn't that a crazy loophole that they've created? They're like, oh, well, what if we just paid private facilities to house detainees, and then Congress doesn't have oversight? You can't do that. Somebody point to somewhere in the Constitution that allows you to privatize something so that Congress doesn't get oversight anymore. They're being paid by the federal government. We're paying them. It's not like this is two private businesses. We pay the private business to house the detainees. In what world would we not have oversight of that? Can somebody point to a statute? I know Markwayne Mullin can't. 2 reasons. 1, doesn't exist. 2, he's really fucking dumb, so he couldn't anyways. He's just reading off a paper. Markwayne Mullin is in this position for 2 reasons. 1, he follows orders. 2, he's very aggressive about following orders. He's very loyal. He's not in here because he has experience. He's not in here because he's deeply intelligent. He's in here because he follows fucking orders, and he gets really upset if anybody challenges him.
Required by law to have access, we'll always allow them to have access. But because they want to politicize it, and the governor wants to politicize it by saying that they weren't allowed access, it's not true. And I would suggest—
How's that politicized? Sherry said Hatless Tuesday donation. I love that. We can work on. Remind me next Tuesday. We're gonna do Hatless Tuesday. Maybe remind Jen.
They spend more time in their own prison system.
This is endless. Anytime somebody disagrees with you, whether it's a member of this committee, whether it's a state public health agency, whether it's a federal court, they are politicizing the Department of—
Sir, that's exactly what you're doing.
Homeland Security.
This is politicized. It's politicized? How? How is it politicized to say we have oversight? How's that politicized? I honestly believe Mullin believes that, but this is why we call it a cult, because what it is criticism is viewed as politicization. He thinks he's doing the right thing. He doesn't have any legal defense for what he's doing. It's obviously outside of the Constitution. It's obviously this bullshit loophole that they think that they found. The courts have ruled against them. The courts have ruled repeatedly that they have to give access to Congress. And what they say instead is, oh, well, when the courts rule that, they're radical judges. We don't have to listen to them. I don't give a fuck if they are radical judges. The Constitution falls apart. Democracy falls apart. Freedom falls apart when you ignore the Constitution. If the judges are corrupt, get them out. Do something to get them out. You don't get to just blanketly oh, it's corrupt, so now we don't have to listen. This is how great civilizations fail. This is how they fall. When the institutions that hold them up are no longer paid attention to. This is, by the way, what Peter Thiel and all these tech oligarchs paid Donald Trump to do. Hey, go in and fucking break it. Break the whole thing. And by the way, while you're breaking it, give us access to everything. Make sure that we control the entire government. Make sure that these tech oligarchs control the military and the operating system. Make sure we have access to everybody's IRS data and their Social Security data and their Medicare data and their voting registration. And please don't get in our way as we put cameras on every single fucking corner and we surveil these people. You are slow walking us into a police state for Donald fucking Trump. Think about that for a second. You are willing to abandon the American experiment for Donald Trump? The reality TV guy? The guy that was so bad at business he bankrupted casinos? Let's just pretend he was great at business. Let's say that he was a 100% success rate on businesses. You're going to throw this away for him? Just because, oh, I like what he says better. Fuck this country. I don't know how you go back from that. How do you turn around and go back? You that are in here will never trust the courts again, ever. And it doesn't matter. It requires no evidence for you to not trust the court. Can you guys give us any evidence that these judges are corrupt? Can you name any of these judges? Do you know why the decision was corrupt or politicized? No, because all it takes for you is to know they ruled against Trump, therefore it is corrupt. Quick, in the chat, MAGA, name one judge that ruled against the Trump administration. Name one. You can't. You know you can't. If you can't name the judge, name the order and what about it was overly politicized. How many more times do you have to be wrong? The Supreme Court just ruled that deporting Kilmar Abrego Garcia was against the law. We all said it at the time. You guys were like, no, these are all corrupt judges. What do we have left if the institution of Congress you don't respect, if the judges you don't respect, and the only person you respect or believe in is Donald Trump? That is an oligarchy. That's a king. What the fuck are you doing, guys?
I've just been sort of chilled by our interaction from earlier on this question, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. So I asked you whether you would.
Then don't put words in my mouth.
Then I'm just going to read back what you said. I said, will you or will you not?
He's such a sensitive little bitch. Then don't do it. Yeah, we're just reading your quote, pal. Fucking relax. He's always 30 seconds away from punching somebody in the face. It's good to see. It's good to see.
Implement court orders, and your answer to me was, if we didn't think the courts were politicized, then I'd be able to answer that. But we see the courts over and over again use their bench for political opinion. I'm just asking.
That's a true statement. Tell me I'm wrong on that one.
I'm asking you.
You're wrong on that one. You're wrong. This is what Markwayne Mullin does. This is what MAGA does. If they don't like the ruling, it's therefore political because everything for you is political. Facts don't matter. Interpretation of the law doesn't matter. Whatever you want to be done should be done. And if anybody stands against that, then it's political. Can you point to what? Can you explain why any of these things are political? Can you explain why the rulings were wrong? No. I'm happy to take call from anybody who wants to explain why any of these rulings was wrong.
Is that not right or
I'm
wrong?
asking you this honestly.
Because I remember when
we certainly let me ask.
I remember when we were putting
Chair,
these
can I
things
ask the
conjunctions
question?
against
Madam Chair,
President Biden. You were saying
I have limited time. Can I ask the question? I'm asking you a legitimate question. There is no end to this. If Republican administrations don't implement court orders that they believe to be politicized, then Democratic administrations will not implement court orders that they believe to be politicized.
And that's exactly what the Biden administration did too.
But
name one. Can you guys name one time that the Biden administration had a court order? Again, I bet it may have happened. Do you know of any? I off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Did the Biden administration just straight up ignored a court order?
But do you see that as a desirable result? Shouldn't both Republican and Democratic administrations implement court orders regardless of what they believe to be the political
Senator
motivations.
Murphy, what I would love to see is the courts actually do their job and not play politics. But you saw it as you felt during the Biden administration.
Saw it?
And we definitely see it right now. If you want to start talking about court orders that was issued against the Biden administration versus the Trump administration, we can start talking numbers. But we also see that the upper courts always
But what we want to compare here is not orders against them, right? Because one could be more corrupt than the other. What we're talking about is, did the administration follow the court orders? Right? Like, if we want to compare criminal records, me versus Al Capone, it's going to seem pretty biased. I don't have a criminal record. That's going to seem pretty biased. That doesn't mean that the courts are biased against Al Capone. It means he was committing crimes, and I wasn't. The level of logic here is so, but like below rudimentary. If you have more courts that ruled against you, perhaps you're doing more illegal things, but we can't do that in the era of Trump because Trump is perfect, so all rulings against Trump are bad. All rulings against Trump are corrupt. We were absolutely ripe to watch this America fall as a world power. We're watching it in real time. This doesn't go well. How's it going for Russia? You guys want to be Russia? You guys really want to turn this into an oligarchy? Can you point to a time when that worked out? You want to talk to your future kids and your grandkids about this? Yeah, I totally supported the Donald Trump just destroying democracy and ending America. We just decided courts didn't matter anymore, Congress didn't. We should just have one guy make all the decisions. They're just openly saying, like, yeah, fuck everybody who stands in our way.
Or a lot of times overturn these lower courts. So you tell me if they're being politicized.
Well,
they are.
I agree that I have questions as to whether certain courts are making decisions.
And what I've made it very clear is that we're going to enforce the law and never break the Constitution.
I'm going to ask for additional time. I agree that there is politics involved in judicial decisions. I do not think that gives an excuse to either a Democratic or Republican administration to ignore those court orders. I think that's actually the end of our republic if the administration willfully ignores a court order because they disagree with it or its motivation. That's a difference between you and I.
No, that's not actually true because there were several court orders that was put in against the Biden administration specifically towards immigration and our border, and I didn't hear you one time speak out against the Biden administration for ignoring that.
Well, like what? Let's just look this up. Did the Biden administration ignore any court orders regarding immigration? Can anybody think of one? Again, I'm not opposed to this. Like, I don't think the Biden administration was always perfect. Can you guys in the chat think of one? It's taken AI a long time. So we have the Remain in Mexico policy. Biden tried to end Trump's migrant protection protocols. Texas sued and a district court ordered reinstatement. The outcome was Biden was forced to reinstate MPP temporarily in December 2021 due to injunction. Then the Supreme Court ruled that the administration did not violate it. So yeah, a lower court ruled against Biden. They put it back in place. The Supreme Court ruled for Biden, and then they returned to what Biden. So Biden followed the court order there. In the asylum ban, which was Biden issued a proclamation restricting asylum. Advocates sued immediately. Federal court blocked the ban in September of 2024. Another court struck it down in May of 2025 as violating the Immigration and so they didn't go against that, violating the Immigration and Nationality Act. Biden set priorities targeting felons and dangerous individuals. Texas sued. The Supreme Court heard the case, but no finding that Biden ignored court orders. So do you guys have one? He doesn't. The whataboutisms aren't even whataboutisms. It looks like the Biden administration followed the orders of the lower courts. So again, it seems like it's Trump, but this guy's a fucking dipshit. He just says what he thinks. He says what he's told. Can we just stop being dumb for just the rest of this administration? Can we not throw this whole thing away? for these fucking idiots. Please. Ash said, what's up, RTP fam? RTP fam, hope everyone's doing great today. Appreciate that. I know Walter joined the dollar train. Thank you, guys. And once again, we are crowdfunded. So if you guys, about 40 minutes left, if you could help us knock out that gift goal, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated.
Actually, that's
Kilmar Abrego Garcia is not a citizen of the United States. I do not believe. He had final orders of removal. But the reason that you couldn't remove him is because he was owed a process. He was due a process. He had due process. He was owed his day in court. That's what they ruled, and that's why he couldn't be deported. So to clear that up in the chat there. Stacey said, for the education, I appreciate what you guys do. It's important.
not true. I will send you endless statements from me about how I believe the Biden administration was going above and beyond the ability that the law allowed them on immigration policy. Let me ask you a final question. The nonprofit security grant program, really important program in Oklahoma and in Connecticut. Wish it wasn't necessary. I assume you wish it wasn't necessary, but it provides grants to churches and to synagogues and to Jewish community centers and to mosques.
To answer that one, when you said, I think it was debt forgivenesses for colleges and stuff that he tried doing, I know what you're talking about. So this is a misunderstanding of what Biden did. So Biden tried to cancel student debt or student loan debt. The courts ruled that he couldn't cancel student loan debt from I believe it was like private institutions, but what he was able to do is the student loan debt that was already like prepared to be forgiven. So Congress had passed laws where there was like student loan debt that after 10 years it would vest and you got that debt forgiven. They moved up those timelines. So he was still able to cancel student debt, but only student debt that Congress had already authorized. The ruling was basically that the president doesn't have the authority to cancel this debt because Congress owns the purse. And so he just moved the dates up. And a lot of people confused that and said, oh, well, he canceled student loan debt. But it was already on the books. And the president does have discretion to move those days up. So it wasn't a violation of it. In fact, he was sued on that, too. And that went nowhere in court.
To provide security. You've recommended a lower amount in this budget. And maybe most concerningly, we haven't gotten the FY25 grants out the door. I know you believe this is an important program in Connecticut. It's vitally necessary. We don't get nearly as many needy applications filled as we would like. Just a commitment to work with us to try to get that number as high as we can, if we can eventually get a budget done.
All right, well, that's it. Our contest says he still tried by executive order and the system itself stopped. He knew he couldn't and still tried, which is the point. No, that's not the point. It's not the point. The argument is, did he ignore a court order? Because they're ignoring court orders. Your whataboutism isn't the same here. Biden did not ignore any court orders. He tried something and the court shut it down and then he complied. The difference here is the Trump administration tries things, the courts shut it down, and they say, fuck you, we're doing it anyways. That's the difference. Are we clear? Are we on the same page there, our Contos? Do you understand the difference there? One ignored, like, it's not whether or not Biden did something that he shouldn't have done, because clearly the court said you can't do this. So clearly he was overstepping his authority. We agree on that. Presidents do that regularly. All presidents do that. What the difference is one president, Trump, when he gets a court order, just says, I don't fucking care. I'm going to do it anyways. That's the difference. All right. Big W for Carolyn. Carolyn sent $100 over on PayPal. Said, thanks for all your hard work. I go by Gemstruck, sorry, and I kind of like it when you're in a bad mood. I hate it. I do not. You guys know I'm an emotional person, so being in a bad mood really affects me. But thank you for saying that. Okay. How much time do we have? 25 more minutes. Let's go here. We're going to be on Congress all day. This is
from Mississippi, the ranking member, Mr. Thompson, for 5 minutes.
Yeah, Bennie Thompson with Markwayne Mullin now.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, while Americans struggle to pay for gas and groceries, President Trump and his allies are constantly enriching themselves off taxpayer-funded contracts. Under then Secretary Kristi Noem, DHS authorized contracts totaling billions of dollars for luxury jets, self-promotional ads featuring horses, recruiting campaigns seeking white nationalists, vehicles wrapped in ICE logo that currently sit idle, massive industrial warehouses to detain human beings. As all of those contracts went to companies with ties to former Secretary Kristi Noem, her special government employee, Corey Lewandowski, President Trump, and Republican donors. In March, the White House confirmed that companies complained that Corey Lewandowski tried to shake them down in return.
John, he didn't ignore the ruling. That's not what happened. He got the ruling and then stopped. Natalie said, fuck MAGA, dumbest group ever. Whoa, Natalie. Hey, Christine said, keep up the great work educating the masses. I appreciate that. While Benny Johnson talks, I'm going to go to the bathroom real fast. I'll be right back.
And for DHS contracts, just like Tom Homan and his restaurant takeout bag of cash. Secretary Mullin, have you canceled or modified any of the corrupt DHS contracts signed by Secretary Noem?
Ranking Member Thompson, I wish we could just ask questions without you injecting your personal opinions and things. I'm not here to talk about Corey and Kristi, first of all. We do have some IG investigations. I'm not sure what they're about. They haven't shared with me, but we do have some stuff going on. But they were happening before I got there. But when you start saying campaigns by hiring white nationalists, that's racism. You have no proof on that. That's just your words that you want to throw out. And racism is very dangerous. And we should all know that. We should all respect that. But that's dangerous language that you use there.
Reclaiming my time. There's no question about the contracts. We know warehouses have been bought for 2-3 times their appraised value. It's in the public record. There are a lot of other things. A $200 million public ad featuring horses, the secretary riding horses. That's grifting. That's wasting money that could go on the core mission of the agency. But obviously...
you guys, I missed the Mullin tie. I'm glad you guys all caught that. Yeah. It's a racist, right?
You don't see any problem with that.
No, that's not true. We are looking at the contracts that weren't already signed, and we did go through and cancel most of those.
Well, that's the question that I asked.
But I was talking specifically about your dangerous language of saying white nationalists.
Well,
that's a dangerous language, and you should apologize for that.
Itself. So now,
why is that dangerous language? I don't understand that. God damn it! They want to be victims of racism so bad, so they could just like, it's crazy. How? Yeah, exactly, Jen. Don't be mean to my white nationalist friends. You should apologize. Why? Why do you guys spend so much time defending white nationalists?
Will you provide the committee with the contracts that you have had canceled since you've been secretary?
Yeah, go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, we're doing a couple things right now. The first thing the secretary and I did when we came back into the organization is we met with the IG, and we went through and had discussions of any of the open contracts that are out there. So at this point, like I said, what we're here to focus on is FY27, not the past. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get to this question.
You're reclaiming my time. If you know something is done wrong, then I think you are obligated to stop it.
I absolutely think so too, but I think you have to follow the process. The IG is the person that will go
not
through
the IG.
evaluation of
Now, this is silly, right? So they're talking about these contracts that Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem were giving out to their friends. And if you know that somebody didn't go through the proper channels to give out a contract, you should just cancel that contract. If you know they handed it out, they were no bid contracts, they handed out this contract, you're actually in violation of the law. Post the Iraq war, we changed a lot of laws in Congress, and rightfully so, because Dick Cheney was handing out all these contracts with no bids to his friends. And the Congress came together like, we can't be doing this shit. Like, there has to be bids on all these contracts. You have to open it up. You can't just hand it out to your donors or your friends. So they're acknowledging right now, first of all, the thing that all Republicans told us wasn't happening, the thing that Kristi Noem lied about under oath, that she wasn't handing out no bid contracts to her friends. Now we know for sure Kristi Noem was lying. She should be prosecuted for this, which the Trump DOJ would be responsible for, but they're not going to do it. Like, they're admitting that she lied. They're admitting that they gave out no bid contracts. And they're like, oh, but we can't do anything until the inspector general comes forward. If there were no fucking bids and you gave the contract to your friend, by definition, it's a no bid contract. Cancel the contract, open it up for bidding. They're saying, sorry, we can't do that. We have to wait for the IG. They do not have to wait for the IG. There is no law that tells them they have to wait for the IG. It seems like they're in on it too. It seems like it doesn't bother them either. Or somebody above them saying, hey, those are our friends too. Okay? You're not taking away their contract.
The IG is based on a complaint. A number of complaints have come directly to
Mods, will you ban Zettelborough? Shut the fuck up.
the agency.
We have, on the contracts, we stopped the contracts moving forward on some of the stuff that wasn't already signed. Some of the contracts were already there, they're there. Unless the IG takes a look at them and says that they were falsely signed or under false circumstances, I can't cancel it unless it's under penalty.
So what contracts?
Excuse me, false circumstances? What is that? No, they were no bid contracts. It's if there were bids, then no. If there were no bids, it's a no bid contract. I don't know what false circumstances is.
Can you share with the committee that have been stopped because of some irregularity?
You mean the ones that we didn't sign?
That's right.
Yeah, we can give you those. That's easy. We give us some time to respond to that, and we'll get to you, and we'll do it in a timely manner too.
All right. There's been some comment about punishing sanctuary cities relative to withdrawing CBP agents and other things.
Now, I want to show this instead. I'm going to cut off there because I think Congressman Peters does a better job with this. But this is one of the most obvious fraudulent charts you'll ever see in your life. I want you to prepare yourself for how obviously fraudulent this is, and then watch Senator Mullin say, but that's not my experience. I don't look at data. I pull from my own experience.
President, we have witnessed the politicization of disaster assistance, unfortunately, I think is a massive scale. There are reports that President Trump has approved nearly 90% of disaster requests from red states, but only 23% from blue states, even when the request met the FEMA established threshold for federal assistance. I have behind me.
Asta Sophia, you are the sweetest, said wiping out the rest of the gift goal. Thank you. I hope you're still on vacation. I hope your vacation lasts forever. W. Asta Sophia for wiping out that last 57 from the gift goal. We love you. We appreciate you.
A chart that's up there now showing this unprecedented politicization of disaster assistance.
Okay. So this is disaster requests that are denied. And you can see this goes all the way back to Reagan. And you can see red states and blue states, the denials. Blue states always a little bit higher. I don't know what that has to do with. But then Trump. Whomp. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me here. You got to be. It's down to like under 30% are approved. What is you think? There's no way. There's no other explanation for this other than Trump is a petulant little child. Now listen to Markwayne Mullin try and make sense of this.
The administration. I don't think there's any other president since the establishment of FEMA that has chosen to actually punish American citizens that have survived a flood or a wildfire because their home state governor or senator's political affiliation. So in these disasters, as you know, Americans have lost their homes, their possessions, suffered so much. Could you just tell me yes or no? Do you think it's right for a president to approve disaster aid based on whether a state voted for him instead of the amount of damage that actually occurred in the state? And you see this chart is pretty dramatic.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Who said that? Rockefeller, the expression of the girl behind him, though. God damn. That's tough. I'd be terrified. I don't want her to look at me like that. That's terrifying.
Senator
Mr.
Peters,
Secretary, the time has expired, but please answer his question.
Senator Peters, that's not my experience with the president. As I said, we've had 37 states approved for public assistance disaster underneath President Trump.
That's not my experience. Okay. All right. Maybe not, but can we explain that chart any other way?
And everyone with the exception of 2, because they didn't quite qualify, that was blue, that was brought in front of him, he approved, including a large a number. In fact, one of the largest numbers approved is for Washington State and Hawaii.
Just briefly, I mean, this chart, I think, speaks volumes. So I would like to have further discussion with you at an appropriate time, because what we're seeing, I don't think I know you. I would think that you would be appalled by some of this as well. And I'd like to have that discussion.
Senator, I agree with that. And look, you and I don't agree on every issue. I do agree that it shouldn't be politicized. I will tell you my experience with the president as I sat down in front of him. Last time I sat down in front of him last Friday, he had 15. They're red and blue states, including tribes. He approved 100% of them. I didn't have, no, we went through, talked through it. My last time to sit down in front of him, he actually denied 2, and 1 was red and 1 was blue. And there was reasons because they didn't quite meet the threshold, and we were having to try to get there. So my experience since I've been in office for 2 months hasn't been that.
I think I have an explanation. This is a guess, but I think I know what happened. I think that Markwayne Mullin, despite being a sycophant and an order taker, he does have more, and he's worked as a senator. He does understand this much better than Kristi Noem, and he's not as vindictive as Kristi Noem. I look at Markwayne Mullin, and I think he's just not very intelligent. He's a partisan. He's easily swayed. He's not that bright. I do think, honestly, I think he tries his best. I think this might be his best. He's just not that bright. Kristi Noem was a lunatic. And Kristi Noem hated Democrats. She always has. She's like a far-right lunatic. And I'm guessing that Kristi Noem walked in and told Trump to deny all of those. I don't think Trump gives a goddamn. I think Donald Trump, if he has the opportunity to hit him, he does it. He just signs he doesn't care about any of this shit. He just takes I think he takes their request and he probably signs it. And there might be some bickering on 1 or 2, but I think overall he's just going to take their suggestions and he's going to sign it. That's my guess as to how you have Markwayne Mullin's experience being different than Trump. I believe him when he says what he said. I don't think he would be that specific if he wasn't lying about his experience with Trump. But I think it goes to, I think based on what we've heard from testimony from others, one of the through lines of Trump as a president is they're like, he kind of lets me do whatever I want. Like, he doesn't stand in the way. He just lets me do my thing, which is scary when somebody like Kristi Noem is in charge. I do feel more comfortable with Markwayne Mullin in charge than Kristi Noem. Not a ton more, but a little bit more. Like, there is some semblance of him where there's some semblance of integrity. I just don't think he's terribly bright. I think he's probably one of the dumbest people in the administration. He's a trier. He tries real hard. Dolphin said, "It hurts me to know that you're angry and hurting today. I love to spread joy and happiness to others. If you can, please pop in my stream at 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't ask for much, just a smile. If you're not busy, I will do my best. I'm okay. Look, just sometimes life kicks you in the face a little bit, and then you run out of patience, and then you cover politics, so it makes you a little more upset than normal. But I'm fine, and I appreciate you saying that. We're going to end with Elizabeth Warren, as I like this. Mostly I like this because Scott Bessent showed up with a laundry list of attacks like he always does, because he's a catty little bitch. And he didn't have any on Elizabeth Warren. And I'm showing this for 2 reasons. 1, Elizabeth Warren is incredible at this. And 2, because a bunch of people in this chat, despite me saying this, are going to say that Elizabeth Warren is corrupt and she takes outside money and that she's enriching herself like everybody else. And even Scott Bessent is going to admit that she doesn't do that, but it won't stop some dummies from saying it. But I wanted to end on Elizabeth Warren today.
You came out in support of a trading ban for members of Congress, and I have introduced legislation to do exactly that. You explained the need for a ban on our trading stock by saying, quote, you look at some of these eye-popping returns, every hedge fund would be jealous of them. And that, quote, if any private citizen traded that way, the SEC would be knocking on their door. Those are strong words from someone who used to run a hedge fund. Last month, President Trump's latest financial disclosures came out, and they show that he made more than $3,400 stock trades worth more than $250 million in just the first 3 months of 2026. That's roughly half of what all 535 members of Congress made last year combined. And the value of virtually every one of those
Overachiever, huh?
stocks that the president traded in is directly affected by President Trump's official actions. So, Secretary Besant, you and I agree that it is a conflict of interest for members of Congress to trade stocks. Do you also agree that it's a conflict of interest for President Trump to trade stocks?
Well, a couple of things, Senator. One, President Trump is not sitting in the Oval Office engaging in a high-frequency trading strategy. Clearly,
Okay. Pathetic. Nobody thinks that everybody in Congress is sitting in their office trading stocks either. Because there are rules where you have to have somebody managing your portfolio. The accusation against members of Congress, not one of them is accused of making the trades themselves. That's the way they cover their own ass. So what Scott Besant is about to say about Donald Trump is he can also say about all these members of Congress. But what Elizabeth Warren's point was, and is a good point, is you have no problem criticizing members of Congress. You have no problem pointing out that these stock trades are a problem, even though they're doing the same thing Trump is doing. So it's ironic that he's offering a defense here that is the same defense that Nancy Pelosi would offer. It's the same defense that Marjorie Taylor Greene offered when she was caught insider trading. It's the same defense that Rick Scott gave when he was caught insider trading. It's the same excuse that they all give because they think we're all fucking stupid. We're not all MAGA. If Donald Trump is buying stock and then the next week going to that company and hosting a press conference and then tweeting out that this company is great and using their stock symbol, you have to be an absolute idiot to not see that he's manipulating the stock price. Everybody knows he's doing it. You can care or you cannot care. But this is just typical of MAGA. Instead of addressing it, they're just going to say everybody else does it.
clearly he had an outside manager who was doing that, and I think it's incumbent upon both houses of Congress to get their house in order before you move to the administrative branch.
You think it's okay for the president to do this? Because let's be clear, you are a Wall Street guy, so you know better. The investments that President Trump has made are not blind. President Trump literally signed the 113-page document publicly listing all of his individual stock trades at the same time that he is making decisions affecting those stocks. So you're going to sit here with straight face and say it's not a conflict of interest for the President of the United States to do that?
Alan, let's play this game real quick. Alan said both sides don't get it. They are all in the wrong. Elizabeth Warren doesn't do this. Elizabeth Warren doesn't trade stocks. She doesn't take PAC money. No president has ever done what Donald Trump is doing. Zero. None of them. Out of all of the presidents, 100% of the presidents before now didn't do this. Trump's doing this. You are like, let's test this. Alan, would you agree that Trump is the only president who has ever done this? If not, we're going to just assume that your both sidesism shit was what most people that come in here, I don't want to accuse you before you answer, but most people that come in here and say both sides are just MAGA and they don't know how to respond to this, so they say both sides, and it's your way of not taking a position. That's my guess. But would you agree that you have no evidence that any other president did this?
I'm going to say this body needs to get its house in order first.
How about we get the White House in order at the same time?
I would encourage you to do that.
I don't trade in individual stocks. I don't own any individual stocks. My house is in order. Thank you.
Senator,
all right, so everybody give it up for Elizabeth Warren. MAGA, everybody else, let's all agree that Elizabeth Warren is one of the few people in Congress who doesn't take outside money, who doesn't do insider trading. She's one of the few uncorrupted people in Congress. And yet, she's one of the most hated by you guys. And you all would say, if somebody asked you, is Elizabeth Warren corrupt? You would say yes. And when we asked you for evidence of that, you wouldn't have any. And if you said because she insider trades and then you did research, you would find that she doesn't do that. When we talk about, like, when you want to do this both sides argument, fine, do the both sides argument. But then let's also call out the people who aren't part of the both sides argument, like Elizabeth Warren. Why is it, do you think, that the people on the left that don't do this, how come they're the ones that you all hate the most? How do you think that messaging came to you? How do you think you became convinced that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and AOC were all corrupt without any evidence? Facebook is probably the answer. You saw some Facebook post that said AOC is worth $50 million. That's how. And you never looked it up. You just went with it because you're like, oh, yeah, I hate them. They're bad. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, $6 billion just this term alone. Nah, it's not corrupt. They're not enriching themselves. He is. You still think that they're more corrupt than him with no evidence. We've got to do something about the reality of the people living in this country. We have to be able to call balls and strikes. You don't have to like Elizabeth Warren's politics. I happen to like her politics. I happen to think she's brilliant. I happen to think that she's in the Senate for the right reasons. She she left a lucrative job and came here, and she's not making more money than she was before, and she has gone out of her way to make sure that she wasn't corrupt. I happen to of all the people in Congress, she might be the person I respect the most. So we can disagree on politics, but what we can't disagree on, what we shouldn't be able to disagree on, is whether or not Elizabeth Warren is corrupt, because she's obviously not corrupt, right? Donald Trump obviously is corrupt. And the only way that you can get around admitting that Donald Trump is obviously corrupt is by saying everybody is corrupt. Both sides do it, because there's no defense for Trump anymore. And that's what Scott Besson is doing, and he's doing it with the wrong person. He's doing it with Elizabeth Warren, who's like, I don't do that. So could you work for the executive branch? She's the one that's putting up bills. If you guys think that people shouldn't be able to trade stocks in Congress, well, then you should support Elizabeth Warren. Shouldn't you? If you think that corporations shouldn't be able to give unlimited amounts of money to politicians, then you should support Elizabeth Warren, because she doesn't take that money, and she regularly introduces legislation to ban that. She and the far left progressives are the least corrupt people in Congress, and somehow we can't convince you guys of that. Why? Because the corruption that you support tells you that they actually are more corrupt. The fact that they don't have money shows that they're corrupt. The absence of crime, the absence of evidence actually means that they're corrupt. But Donald Trump, since his evidence is out in the open, he's not corrupt because he's honest about it.
Mr. Secretary.
I said that about Tim Walz and Bernie Sanders. I don't think I've ever said that about Tim Walz. I definitely said that about Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders, it's the same argument. There's no evidence of corruption with Bernie Sanders. And Lee is going to now tell us about his 3 mansions, which aren't mansions. And I don't think it's 3. I think it's 2. And then he's going to cite a number that's incorrect about Bernie Sanders, who also is not corrupt.
Others on this committee can't say that, Senator.
Let's look at some individual trades. On January 6th, Donald Trump purchased up to $1 million worth of NVIDIA stock. 1 week later, his administration changed U.S. policy and loosened the rules on export controls so that NVIDIA could sell its chips to China. Now the price of NVIDIA stock is through the roof. So, Secretary Besson, you said last year, if any private citizen traded the way members of Congress do, quote, the SEC would be knocking on their door. So my question is, should the SEC be knocking on President Trump's door to start an investigation over this trade?
Again, if this body wants to ban individual stock trading, which I would advocate for yourselves, start there. And if you want legislative action to continue, that's your prerogative.
So it's our prerogative. So you would support our saying that President Trump should be investigated over this?
I would support
our
would
trade
support,
should be investigated.
Why can't you say that? Why? Give me one reason why anybody doesn't think Donald Trump should be investigated. If your only reason for Donald Trump not being investigated is that other people did crimes, well, then just demand everybody gets investigated at the same time. Just do that. Just say they should all be investigated.
And President Trump
I would support you getting your house in order, Senator.
And how about the White House getting its house in order?
Again,
would you support that investigation?
Please lead by example.
She is leading by example. She's introducing legislation repeatedly to ban trading, and she doesn't trade. Could she? What else could she do?
I would like to see the President of the United States lead by example. You say there should be an investigation when that kind of activity takes place. How about we start with the White House?
You create statute. The president does not.
Trump bought tens of thousands of dollars worth of stock in Robinhood and the Bank of New York Mellon Corporation, known as BNY. On April 6th, your Treasury Department announced it had chosen the financial agent to implement the new Trump accounts program, BNY and its partner, Robinhood. Both stocks, of course.
Trading is only bad after Pelosi retires. Complete silence before that. Wrong, William. Elizabeth Warren came into Congress after the 2008 financial crisis, and the first thing that she did was try and ban trading. She also helped start the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was to protect you against banks from stealing money from you. Bernie Sanders, AOC, they've always been talking about this. You just don't pay attention to anything that they say.
Have risen since then. So, Secretary Bessent, let me ask you a different question. If these stock purchases that Trump made were made using inside information, would that be illegal?
Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to speak to that. And I think...
Would it be worth investigating? You don't have to be a lawyer. You're the one who said what should be investigated.
Why don't we investigate many people on this committee, Senator?
Go ahead. Investigate anybody on that committee. That's fine. Elizabeth Warren will come up squeaky clean. So let's investigate them, and let's also investigate Donald Trump. Let's do them all. How come he can't say that? How come you guys can't say that? Investigate all of them. I'm fine with it. Take them all down. Haul Nancy Pelosi's ass back in there. Go after every last one of them. None of us care. Those of us that aren't Democrats but progressives, like, we just don't care. Investigate all of them, please. Thank you.
Many people.
And you don't think the White House should have to follow the same set of rules that are already the law?
I think you should get your house in order here.
My house is in order. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
And you should have your fellow committee members, mostly on your side of the aisle, do the same.
We need stronger anti-corruption rules and conflict of interest rules in Washington for everyone. And that includes the president, and it includes Congress. And instead of draining the swamp, what Donald Trump is doing is he is enriching himself by taking advantage of his position. That is not public service. He's the one who should lead by example.
Yeah,
Senator
there's a question with that. Somebody who said that it's not illegal, it's corrupt. I think that's questionable. I think it's probably both. But a lot of people are Pelosi operated within the law. Trump's would be, I don't think that Trump specifically, and I think you could find many examples of members of Congress doing exactly what Trump did. But I think where you get into the part where it's obviously illegal is when he's tweeting out the stock symbol, when he's going and he's doing appearances for them, what he did for Tesla on the White House lawn. That's clearly illegal. Taking the money that he took from the Qataris, taking the money that he's taken from foreign investors, that's clearly illegal. So it's true that, like, the stock trades, not all of his stock trades would be illegal. They would be corrupt, but some of them would also be illegal. They would definitely qualify as either stock manipulation or market manipulation or insider trading. I think insider trading is probably the wrong word for it. I think it's more manipulation than insider trading, because it's his action that is causing the price to go up, not some sort of insider information that he got and then traded on that insider information. It's actually his actions that caused the price to go up. So I think that's whoever said that. It's more market manipulation. All right, I think that's it for today. Amber said Washington and Hawaii had to sue to get the disaster relief money they were owed. They were denied originally, and he lost in court. That is true, and I actually forgot about that, so thank you. Jen, did I miss anything?
I'm double checking to make sure. I think that's everything on my end. Do you want to mention?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
The rest of the week.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for helping us knock out that gift goal today and for your support. I've made a decision. Friday, we were going to have the day off. I'm going to take tomorrow off as well. I just need to reset. I got some family stuff going on, some health issues in my family that I need to attend to, and I just don't have my mind fully on this. So I'm going to take some time off and go take care of that, and then I'll be back on Monday. So I won't be here tomorrow. Friday, we were already planning on being off, but I will see you guys on Monday again, and we'll have a full week. Next week. Thank you. I appreciate it. I need you all to call me a raggedy bitch when this happens. So normally it's Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. This week it's just Monday through Wednesday, and then I'll be back next week, Monday through Friday. So I appreciate you guys' support there. You probably won't see much from me. I'm pretty absent on social media. Dolphin, I'll try and get there tonight if I can remember and if I have some time. And I appreciate you saying that. I know that you love to help people smile and enjoy themselves. So for all of you, I hope you get outside this weekend or the rest of this week. Touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't smoke grass or touch grass, figure it out. Look in the mirror, say nice things about yourself, drink lots of water. Vitamin D is a great thing. Sunshine is a great thing. Surround yourself with the people that you love and tell them that you love them. Life is short. Until I see you guys again Monday morning, take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.